If you could live in any environment, where would you live?
I've thought about this because I hate living in Vancouver. It's too expensive.
Yeah.
I don't like the crazy-ass politics, and there are too many fucking bike lanes. I'm going to murder cyclists.
But who wants to go to Alberta? Nobody.
But there's nowhere I would rather live. Everywhere else is worse.
Yes.
Then Alberta?
No, the Vancouver.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I see what you mean.
Like the Vancouver area. And like, I live downtown, and I actually really love living downtown. I now live in the suburbs. I love living in the suburbs. I've got a bunch of friends that live way out in the boonies and farmland and shit. I love going out there to visit them. I'm not going to get the same feel anywhere else in Canada, and I'm not wild about living out anywhere outside of Canada.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe Ireland. I could live on I'm going to retire onto a hobby farm in Ireland.
Yeah, I just want to go to the UK where it's raining all the time.
That's just Vancouver.
You got that here.
Yeah.
It's rarely now.
Well, I mean...
Global warming and shit.
Sure, but the difference is that when you're in the UK doing it, you're going to slip on the cobblestones, and there are going to be far too many people.
That's fair. I do not enjoy cobblestones. My kryptonite is a cobblestone, by the way. Immediately slip.
I like it here. I like forests, but I am also very much a bougie city person. So
You like your nice things.
Yeah,
I like your air conditioning.
I'm sorry, I need to be within a 15-minute drive of a theater and a sushi restaurant and a decent-sized mall. Not that I ever go to the mall, but just because I've got the amenities around as well.
Yeah.
Which is why Dan is all, small-town living's the way to go. And I go, yuck, it sure is, pal. Fuck.
I'm going to 3 concerts this week, and I can't do that in a small town. Or unless I want to see the same country music cover band over and over again.
That's fair.
So, I like the amenities, and I like what it has going on, but then there's also a part of me that would like to go live in a forest and never see another human being again.
Oh, I would love to live as a bog hag. Like, I just really want to. Yeah.
Welcome to the It's a Mimic podcast, where you never know what you're going to get.
Welcome back to It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're gonna get. Today we're continuing our discussion on DM tips in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. I'm Megan, and with me today are Kyle and Adam. And in this episode called Environments, Exploration, Opportunities, and Acclimation of Communities.
In this episode of the It's a Mimic podcast, this panel of Dungeon Masters will be heading from biome to biome through 12 unique environments to see what inspirations we have about using the common settings in D&D 5th edition.
Before we get into it, though, I want to talk for a second about safety. And this isn't like... This is...
I was like, are we getting a safety lecture right now for the room that we're in?
All right, so for CPR, I need everybody buddy up.
Yeah.
Lord. I trust you none for this.
Total sidebar, does anybody else have their first aid?
I did a long time ago,
Yes.
never kept it
Yeah,
up.
mine's active.
I actually have the first level of EMR.
Oh, shit. Oh,
What
good for
the
you.
fuck?
Yeah, I was going to be a paramedic, but that's a terrible profession to get into.
You're about the 9th person that I've known. Like the 4th person on this podcast has been like, I should be a paramedic, and then like looked into it and went, fuck, no.
Yeah.
I just assume that there's a whole lot of cocaine necessary for that.
It's less about that and more like with the level I had, I can't work in Vancouver because it requires one called PCP, which is like the next level up. So I could only work.
So not cocaine, but PCP. That's
Great. Noted.
But basically I couldn't work in Vancouver. I could only go work in like small communities around BC, and the going rate is $2 an hour on call. And the instructor that I had, he's like, oh yeah, I used to work at Boston Bar, and sometimes I would go 2 weeks between a call. So he was earning $2 an hour to be a paramedic, and then he'd get a call and he'd work for 4 hours. He'd get paid for 4 hours, which I think he made like $25 an hour for 4 hours, and then back to $2 an hour. And I was like, no, thank you.
Is that what Aaron does?
No, he is a volunteer firefighter. Okay. I mean, he has his first aid, but
okay. Anyway, no. What the safety I'm talking about?
This is not what this is.
No, yeah. Okay. Sorry, Megan. Sorry. So, this episode's going to be wild. Pardon the pun. So, what I want to talk about is safety, and that is the safety of traveling and about existing in a medieval fantasy world for a moment, because I think we take a lot of things for granted as D&D players and as DMs about just how fucking dangerous it is out there.
Amen.
So the very first thing I want to point out is when you're traveling from one place to another, a lot of the time players are forced to go through the wilderness. They should opt to take roads at all times. That's one of the things that I do in my campaign is it's always safer on the road. You are less likely to hit a random encounter on a road. And the random encounters tend to be with humanoids or like beasts that are crossing the road, right? There's not a whole lot of shit that's true. You're not going to stumble upon a hag hut on the side of a road. You're not going to stumble upon...
Challenge accepted. That's where I'm putting my bog hag house now, is on the side of a road.
I mean, to be fair, you guys did fight Baba La Sega's hut on a fucking road.
We did.
But she was hunting you down at that point.
You're not wrong. That was our fault. We
Yeah,
did that.
but
I am not surprised in the slightest.
I deserve this.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So the idea is roads are places of civilization, and there's going to be at least smells and sights and movement there that's going to discourage some creatures from actually being on those roads. And so it should be safer and it should be faster to travel by road than through the wilderness. There are rules for that, and I think a lot of dungeon masters just skip that. Oh, yeah, you could travel for 8 hours through the wilderness, and then you're going to set up camp, or we're going to push through for 12 hours, or you're going to go overnight and get a level of exhaustion, or right? And it should be a whole lot worse than that. You guys were both in scouting, right?
Yeah, man.
That off-road hiking, that like when you're not on a path, that can get fucking brutal.
It's true.
Right? You just do not make good time. And like the ground is spongier, but you got to go up and down and around small hills.
Tripping on roots, being scared of tree wells, all kinds of shit.
Yeah, the whole pathway being washed out, and it's just like a low river.
And you have to stop. And it's not that it's going to make you take 4 times as long to cross this little stream. It's just you've got to stop. You got to look at it for a second and go, all right, where's my footing going to go? Mm-hmm. Right? And it's just going to bog you down a little bit all of the time.
Yeah.
So roads are the safe place to go. And that's where you're going to find roadside taverns and rest stops and watering holes and waypoints, right? And even if it's not necessarily on the road, it'll be close enough to the road that you're on, or the path that you're on, so that you can see old ruins, about an hour hike off into the wilderness. We can see the top of an old dilapidated castle. We're going to rest there for the night. So you're only in wilderness for an hour instead of trudging through it. The next thing I want to mention is that safety in numbers is a major thing for traveling. And we see this in the real world. Caravans were a massive thing, right? If you wanted to go from town to town, you were waiting for other people to also be going that direction. Going by yourself, even if it's down a road, if you got to go 3 days down the road to get to the next village, and you're alone on a cart, that's dangerous. Not just bandits and wolves and shit, but like weather and
it's dark.
And
you can't see where you're going.
Right, yeah, you are on your fucking own. If something goes wrong, if you break an axle on your wagon, you're hooped, you're done, right?
Yeah.
So caravans are a big factor. And I try to use caravans all the time. I'm always throwing NPCs, hey, yeah, we're traveling this way. Do you want to come with us? Right? And it makes it safer for my players. I tend not to even run random encounters. You'll see things in the distance, but that lets you explore in relative safety, because even a T-Rex isn't going to fuck with a shit ton of people that are popping off spells regularly and riding like large, weird, fantastical beasts, and there's 400 of them, right? A dragon will look at that and go, I could fuck with that. However, down the road further, there's one guy traveling by himself, so easier prey.
That's too many people. I'm not going to do that.
3 max. Other than that, it's just too much work.
Yeah.
That's like my love life too. Settlements.
3's max?
No, anything else is too much work.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Expect someone else to do the lifting.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of laundry after that too,
the next thing I want to mention is settlements. Most settlements that are going to exist in a medieval fantasy world are going to have walls. They're going to have a watch. They're going to have guards. They're going to have gates. or a portcullis, things that can be added to hinder entrance. They're going to be areas that are not going to be easily overrun, especially if you have goblinoids, orcs, gnolls, kobolds in the region where there's going to be raiding and whatnot. There'll be farmland outside the walls, but for the most part, the walls will be safe and there will be people on guard all of the time. We had that in reality just because of bandits and roaming armies and militias and stuff. So like we kept the Vikings out, right? Now imagine those Vikings are 4 times as strong as a human and have fucking tusks, right? Like it's going to be, you need thicker, better walls. So when you're building a city, you got to add walls as well. Also, as far as safety goes, traveling at night is a double-edged sword. You guys, Megan, often travel at night.
On a regular basis. We love doing it.
Because you are traveling under under darkness, right? And you're able to sneak around. You are usually pretty stealthy as a group. Not always, but usually pretty stealthy. And when you travel by night, you're able to avoid a lot of the daytime hunters and whatnot.
Yeah.
However, nighttime hunters are far more dangerous. Well, the way that I run it is there's fewer of them. They're further between them. But if they find you, you're fucked, right? This is going to be a decent battle. I will have CR appropriate and under during the day and CR appropriate and over at night, right? Most of the things that hunt at night are hunting. They're stalking you, right? So...
Noted.
Yep. But, again, you're able to move without being seen by enemy forces. If they're intelligent creatures or like enemy forces like a militia or an army or a wizard trying to scry on you or whatever, chances are good moving at night is going to be better than moving during the day. So
That's fair.
another thing to think about is what season that you're moving in as well when you are traveling from one to another. Winter is going to be brutal. I encourage you guys not to travel during the cold seasons. When you do, everything is difficult terrain. There's regular survival checks. And everyone's getting levels of exhaustion regularly.
Yeah.
Unless you guys gear up and have guides with you and you're on mounts and whatnot and you're truly prepped, then it's going to suck and you shouldn't do it at all. There are entire campaigns that are set in like the frigid tundra and Icewind Dale and whatnot. And it's too easy to move around in my opinion. I have hiked through snow. It's bullshit.
It sucks.
Fuck that
Even
noise.
with like snowshoes and like overly prepared, it still fucking sucks.
Yeah.
I always hated winter camping.
But yeah, because I'm either building up a sweat and then I'm going to be immediately fucking frozen, like the moment I stop.
Yeah.
Or I am frigid the entire fucking time that I'm there and I need to just fucking get indoors.
Yeah, if your feet get cold, you're fucked. I always hated that. It was fucking just... Winter camping.
The other thing to keep in mind as well, the last point that I want to make is weather. Weather is a major factor whenever it comes to traveling or building settlements as well. And I don't just mean like it's stormy, although that is a big deal, especially for ships, both sea and air. That's going to be a major factor, right? But I'm also thinking about things like floods and natural disaster level issues as well that people don't stop and think about. If you are putting your settlement in the bottom of a valley, that's a bad fucking idea. You need to be kind of on the highlands beside the lowest point of the valley so that when the flood happens, your house doesn't get washed away.
Yeah.
Right? So...
Lesson learned hard, you know?
You lost a house like that?
Sure. I'm just thinking, what is that? Merritt? I'm thinking of Merritt.
Fucking
When the floods in Merritt happened, and I'm just like, yeah, that's what you get for building a freaking city in the middle of a valley. Like...
We live in the earthquake zone here, and I keep looking at Delta going, oh, you poor bastards.
Dude, Richmond's built on sand. If we get an earthquake, it's just going to sink the whole city into the sand.
Yeah, and then the dikes out there are going to burst as well, and it is going to flood because it's all under the sea level.
Yeah.
So, like...
Woo!
Richmond is going to be the 25 tall buildings that are left, but...
One more reason not to live in Richmond.
Yeah, well, total panic moment, too. That's also where our airport is. So any out of province help that's going to come in is not going to be coming through that airport. It's going to be coming through Abbotsford.
Yeah.
And Abbotsford floods as well.
Yep.
And so like we're relying on rail, and that's not good for
Coast too.
coast too,
Shipping.
right?
Yeah.
But that's bad. When the big earthquake hits, you think about the debris that's going to be floating around the coast. It's not going to be easy for ships to get in and out. So, like, aid will be slow here.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of experienced that before, like multiple times, where like the rails went down, like the strikes would happen,
Yeah.
and that would cut us off from the entire East Coast.
Yeah.
And then
And,
like
and at first we thought, thank God.
yeah, and they were like, wait a minute. And then we also had like when our highways from between here and Kelowna, when that whole like all those rock slides happened, and we lost all the roads all from here to like Kelowna and Kamloops in there, and we couldn't get anything to Vancouver for days, like.
Have you been with Dave on one of his, like, driving through the mountains up to Coquihalla in the middle of the winter excursions where they just, like, get snowed into a snowbank on the side of the road for like 2 fucking days and shit?
No, I never had that happen to me, but I was up one time with Dave and Ian crashed into a snowbank head on. We managed to get out,
I know that story, yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, when we think about weather, it's more than just, is it stormy, is it rainy, is it foggy? Although fog is another major factor, which you guys ran into repeatedly in the last campaign.
It's true.
Yeah, where the visibility, not being able to see where you were going, but also not being able to see what's 100 feet away, is real debilitating.
Yeah, it's like, great, you have dark vision. It's foggy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, that means nothing anymore.
Hope you're not on a boat.
They were on boats.
Yeah.
It was foggy riverlands is what it was.
Oh, yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah. So, like, the random encounters were right here, right now, you're not running away.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I think about roads, caravans, the nature of settlements, traveling at night, traveling during the appropriate months, and trying to avoid inclement weather, right? We do this kind of, we take all that shit for granted because we don't worry about it. We don't have to have walled cities anymore. I can get in my car, turn on the headlights, and drive at night, no problem, and go as far as I want, right? But we don't think about this shit when we're DMing, when we're playing. We should look at the adventuring gear and the stuff that's there and go, why was this added? I like the 3.5 adventuring gear list because it's pages long.
Yeah.
And it's like a little bit for literally every
Play
encounter.
pot.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Small, medium, and large.
Yeah.
So
just in case.
So thinking about these things when it comes time to do the exploration pillar, I find is fucking key. So.
Yeah. All right, before we let this episode get too long, let's jump into an info break.
We previously covered quite a bit in our discussion on Dungeon Master tips in 5th edition. For all of those episodes and more, you can follow or subscribe at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and dozens of other podcast apps. And if you'd like to support us, you can donate through the website, check out our store, or join our Patreon and get access to other episodes and series. If you'd like to pay for some ad space on It's a Mimic, or just send a shout out to a friend, please reach out to us through our email and website that are listed in the show notes below.
Before we go any further, I just want to say thank you to Tom for becoming our latest Patreon subscriber. This week on the It's a Mimic Patreon, for Silver Adult tier and above, there will be a double feature on Thursday and Friday of Pantheon episodes. Additionally, on top of that, we're going to round out the week on the public channel where I sit down with one of our patrons, Scott, and go over building NPCs for a carnival. But for now, let's get back to the episode.
All right, guys, so we're going to talk about a couple of different environments. As we said, we're going to start with some common lands. Do we want to throw down some dice and see who gets to go first?
Sure.
Yeah. Yellow.
All right.
15.
Got a 1.
6.
All right, Adams, you're first. What do you got?
All right, so when we sat down to look at this episode to figure it out, I'm like, okay, what are the actual lands? What are the environments people are going to be going through? And I looked at what Wizards of the Coast thinks are the important landscapes, but there are a couple that we're going to touch on today that are not included, which are fucking obvious. And I'm going to start with one of those, and that's the urban environment. There's not a whole lot of urban support, like there's some, but not much. Let me do a little breakdown of what it would be like to explore an urban environment. The first thing that you got to think about is that we're dealing with like towns and other bigger, more important cities and structures. Anything that's smaller than a town is not really urban. That's more rural environment, right? You're not. You're still kind of out in the boonies, and you can run into monsters in a village.
Nothing but hicks and yokels.
Pretty much.
How annoying.
So we're dealing with like towns and cities in particular. I think about any time that there's going to be like a basic infrastructure that needs to be like that have an upkeep, that's going to be your urban environment. There's some basic challenges that you're going to run into when you're in this. The communities there are going to, first of all, have trouble meeting specific needs for different peoples. And even if it's all like a city of elves, for example, there may be high elves and wood elves that are mingling there, and they will have different needs. They have different expectations. When you look into the sub-races and the different playable races that are out there, and we have some races that aren't playable that will still be a part of communities, like the Verbeeg.
Yeah.
Right? So they're going to be out there and they're going to have different needs, different necessities. And if you've got someone that doesn't fit the general population demographic, like if you've got a Furbolg that is living with a bunch of elves, their needs are going to be very different than what the elves need. It lines up mostly, but their ceilings are going to be taller. They're going to have bigger doorways. And so the infrastructure is going to change. We also have to worry about blending cultures and multiculturalism, because a lot of the time it's not going to vibe appropriately. I mean, we know elves and dwarves traditionally do not get along. That is a fantasy trope that most people will lean into, especially new DMs, right? Oh, you're an elf? I hate you. You're not allowed in my bar, right?
Easy go-to, yeah.
So finding the middle ground and being able to get that dwarven flavor in the dwarven bar can be a little bit difficult. You just usually end up in generic human feeling places.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Even though what I like to do is I like to put districts, kind of like we have Chinatown and Little Italy and stuff like that. I will have a gnomish district and a halfling district that are nearby, so all of the small folk houses are together there, and you would have to go in as a medium-sized creature and know that I will be crouching down to stand in line up at the bank here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So when we think about other creatures like Tritons, they're going to have to be near docks and ports and water, right? If we think about Aarakocra, they're probably going to have a lot of balconies and tall spires and whatnot. The more that we start melding the multiculturalism together, the weirder this city is going to look. And so it's going to have trouble actually meshing with itself in a lot of ways. So honestly, I wouldn't put more than 4 or 5 different cultures smashed together. A lot of the time we see like Waterdeep and Baldur's Gate, you just have like, look at all of these tieflings and dragonborn and furbolgs and kobolds and goblins and there's just too fucking much going on there, right? And I get that these are supposed to be the melting pots and the New York City.
Like your hub. Yeah.
And I get that, but there should really only be 1 or 2 of those in a world. You can't have an entire kingdom like that just because of the different needs. The needs of a goblin are different than the needs of a centaur.
Yeah.
So take that into consideration. If you're going to acquiesce to the centaurs, there might not be a space for something like a plasmoid to be living there as well, right? So
That's fair.
the races that I normally find in urban settings are humans and halflings, just because those are the ones that blend in with kind of everybody.
Yeah.
Right? So you can put whoever you want in, but humans and halflings and half-orcs and tieflings and dragonborn. These are the ones that you're going to see pretty much everywhere.
Half-elves, too.
Half-elves, yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to travel through these areas, I look at the roads, and the roads here are not like the roads in other locations because they require upkeep. They require a certain level of maintenance, whereas out in the wilderness, sometimes that road just becomes a dirt path before it becomes a road again. Right?
Yeah.
So
This is why my kryptonite is cobblestones.
is that
Twist
why?
an ankle on that sucker.
You don't go to Gastown very much, do you?
Hate that place.
The other thing about
It's fun to watch, though. Watching girls in, like, stiletto
Stiletto
heels. Just,
Yeah, man.
especially when they've had a couple of drinks.
Don't even.
Yeah.
no, my
It's
favorite.
like an extreme ninja warrior.
Well, I
Almost.
used to live like 6-7 blocks from Gastown, and it was always an ongoing joke with me and Sean and a couple of the friends. They're like, we would go into Gastown and actually probably not Sean. Anyway, it was a joke with me and a couple of friends that we would go into Gastown at 2 a.m. and just watch all the girls carrying their shoes
Yeah, man.
and walking around just like drunk and angry at that the cabs aren't stopping. So
Yeah, I would say I was one of those girls, but I was not. I can't even walk in heels to this day. So I feel
No,
like
that's okay. Neither can I.
Yeah, me neither.
You know what?
You're not alone.
I really want to. Like, it just seems like such a weird flex to have, to be like, you can do anything in heels.
Every once in a while, I'm watching television. The opening of It Follows. That girl is fucking sprinting in heels.
In heels, yeah.
Holy shit, that is fucking impressive.
Yeah, I wish.
So, anyways, when it comes to roads and cities, you also have to think about tolls, because a lot of the time you're going from district to district. And you have a unique opportunity to take other smaller roads in the form of alleys and shortcuts and whatnot, where you don't really get that in any other setting. So you have opportunities to have these kind of darker, smaller roads.
Okay, wait. Would you find tolls inside a city between the districts?
If you're going to go from the poor district to the noble district, they will have a toll in there to keep the riffraff out.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
If you're going to be a merchant coming in from the ports, you will pay a toll before you can get into the city proper.
Yeah, okay.
So there will be, and I think about Minas Tirith is a great example of a city with walls within walls and whatnot. I would expect that there would be tolls for certain people at certain rings of the city. Right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to the difficult terrain that you're going to find in here, these are going to be the poorly maintained areas, so the poor districts. Rooftops, crowded areas, and sewers are where you're going to be able to, if I'm going to run a chase through here, this is where I'm going to put them, because there is difficult terrain. There's a lot of features here. So stealth is going to be different than it is for the rest of this episode, because it's not going to be about being invisible and not being seen. It's going to be about blending in and being unworthy of notice.
Yeah.
Right? Stealth is a different game here. And a lot of the time when I run stealth in a city, it's not dex, it's charisma, because we are putting on a performance.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Fitting in.
Yeah. Vehicles and mounts are going to probably be kept to highways and major roads, and probably off the back roads, especially when we're dealing with fantastical mounts and big-ass vehicles. Because while there are some, definitely, there's not a lot. It's usually horses, right? That's the basic go-to. But even in like medieval cities and whatnot, you could get a horse down any back road, no problem. But it might be disruptive to do so, right? So there's not going to be a whole lot of like every road is available for every mount and every vehicle. It'll be the main ones, and then you're going to have public stables and public cart parking, right? So
Yeah, there's like some cities in Italy where you can't even get a mini car down some of the roads, right? Because the streets are so narrow.
There's some cities in Vancouver where you can't get cars down because they've decided to make it bike only.
Yeah.
Right?
We're going to hear a lot about bikes, aren't we?
I love the idea of bike lanes as far as the environment goes. I lived downtown when they put all of those bike lanes in, and I was very, very fucking frustrated trying to find parking and shit. So
That's true.
Fair enough.
my problem is that I owned a car and I lived downtown.
Yeah.
Not that I have anything against bike lanes, except that I drive.
Except that I don't use them.
Yeah.
And I will say, for pedestrians, it's great because I'm no longer competing with bikes. So, the landscape itself isn't really that dangerous. This is the one that's been cultivated to be as safe as possible for people. So, I'm not so much worried about the landscape at all when I'm in a city proper, unless I'm going to rooftops or sewers or some of these, off the main path places. When it comes to hunting and tracking through an area like this or gathering, it's different again because you're not hunting and gathering and tracking people. You're stealing, you're bagging. That is your version of hunting and gathering.
Yeah.
And like I can imagine if you were like following someone through a city, like that would be the only thing, like tracking someone through a crowd.
Yeah.
It'd be like, okay, well, roll perception to see if you can see the red of their coat or something like
But
that.
even that's following a person you can see instead of like trying to find their footprints.
Yeah,
Or,
like tracking it.
Yeah.
Did this person rub up against the corner of a building and leave fur behind, right? Like that's not what we're doing in a city.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some hairy. Okay.
Nope.
Speaking of, they're monsters. We're going to run into a lot of different kinds of bad guys in a city. We're going to have everything from assassins guilds and thieves guilds and bandits through to cranium rats. You're going to find gargoyles in cities,
Yeah.
right? There will be devils making deals, and incubi and succubi will prey on cities, right, and towns. You're going to be dealing with a lot of were-rats. Sorrowsworn are manifested by people's emotions, so go where the people are. Doppelgangers are going to want to be here. If there are a lot of people living, there have been a lot of people that have died. there will be haunted, ghostly places all the way through. And also, I find that vampires tend to be around cities. If not in the city proper, they're nearby and they're preying on the city.
They're in the city on a daily
makes
basis.
sense,
Yeah.
Or a nightly basis,
Hey,
anyway.
well, magic and things. We live in a magical world, okay?
The next thing to think about is what kind of armies that you might find in a location like this. And I'm thinking law enforcement, knights, mercenaries. Not necessarily armies themselves, right?
I imagine there'd be, if the town is big enough, they'll have a standing army, right? Like
They
the
will.
capital will have an army.
There'll be a barracks with an armory and whatnot, sure,
Yeah.
but like you're not gonna look out and see the army marching through the streets on a regular basis, the way that you might see a roving orc horde, right? So,
Yeah.
For natural features, you're gonna find cities around waterways, natural defenses like nearby mountains and cliffs, and places that will be on solid trade routes. And then for magical features, I was thinking, why would you build a city around a magical thing? Maybe there's a permanent portal that's in place,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Right.
so this could be a hub for moving, or maybe it's a holy site, or there's a blessing because an angel touched down here once and blessed the land when he did, and so people have built a community around them. When I think about the spells I'm going to run into in a city, it's going to be anti-magic spells, dispel magic, counterspell, social spells like friends and charm person, healing, restoration, remove curse because we need people to stay alive. Illusion spells like disguise self and alter self, but also like minor illusions as well for storefronts and signs and whatnot. And then of course prestidigitation and thaumaturgy.
Yeah, makes
Yeah,
sense.
makes sense.
So that's kind of like a really quick overview and breakdown of what I expect to find in an urban environment.
I like it.
Who's next? That's Kyle.
That's me.
Kyle's next.
So I've got forests. So I mean, what kind of settlements can you typically find in a forest? Fur trappers and hunters, hermits, logging camps. You can often find fae. Honestly, when I think of forest, I think it is like Dungeons and Dragons, right?
Ewoks.
It is like the nailed it.
My favorite D&D playable race. The Ewok.
Ewok.
So I mean, you can find lots of kinds of settlements here. I think some of the biggest challenges, though, in terms of living here is predation, right? Especially because you can't really see what's coming in a forest, right? It's not like a city or grasslands where you've got a big wide view. Anything can be hiding in a forest, like from armies to orcs to some horrible beast, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even here right now, there was a woman that was attacked by a bear like a couple blocks from here, wasn't there?
Yep.
Right? Like it's still a thing that goes on.
What?
Yeah.
Bears still attack people? I thought they like.
They do when the woman tries to feed the fucking bear.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
Fair
sorry.
enough.
I'm pro bear on this one.
Dude, absolutely. I did the Coquitlam Crunch and I like was walking up the stairs.
Fuck, did you?
I did.
Holy
I was,
shit!
I was walking up the stairs
When?
and I did it like every day, up until for Japan, because I wanted to make sure that I could walk when I got to Japan.
That's fair.
So I did it every day for 3 months.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right.
That shit, good for you.
But there was one day I did it. I was walking up and I was just kind of like listening to music, paying attention to like my steps and my feet, and all of a sudden I look up and there's like 2 flights up, there's just a bear standing there, and I'm like, nope. Just like slowly toddled backwards down the stairs, like. Hard. I have a picture of it, which I will share later. But yeah, like it was, yeah.
That's cool. It's black bear, clearly.
Yeah.
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 I actually saw one earlier today.
Did you?
Yeah.
They're all over the place, right? Like,
We have bears in our urban environments here, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think also access to enough and consistent food, right? Especially if there is no good farming land close by. If you're living deep within the forests of like Germany, right? There's not a lot of arable land that you can do it. So you got to make sure that you're hunting enough. And then what happens in winter? Are you still be able to get enough food, or did you stockpile enough? Did you preserve it well enough, right?
Yeah. What are your preservation processes? Like resource management. Yeah.
Did you
Probably
get botulism?
you're probably smoking and salting a lot of meat and
Vegetables, pickling vegetables and stuff.
yeah, root cellars and whatnot are going to be a big deal for every settlement.
Yeah. In terms of what kind of races can you find here? I mean, pretty much everything, right? I think I would assume not dwarves, probably.
No.
And then other than that, I think you can find most common races, like you'll find elves, humans, Kenku, furbolgs, gnomes, right?
Yeah.
What does travel look like in terms of roads here? I mean, it's obviously going to depend on the remoteness, right? And where are you between two major cities? Because if you are, then chances are it's going to be a fairly well-paved road, right? Roads are pretty important, but if you're getting out in the boonies, right, going to small settlements, if you're going to a logging camp, you're probably only going to find something slightly more built out than a game trail.
Yeah.
In terms of difficult terrain, you're going to find fallen trees, washed out roads, big boulders that have come from avalanches, maybe even earthquakes. Stealth here is going to be fairly easy, I think, right? Like, you got a lot of things to hide behind.
Yeah,
a lot of trees, a lot
I
of
feel like
bushes.
there's a lot of hiding opportunities, but also like and this is something I was like to consider when thinking of stealth is like you're walking on like
you're crunching
on leaves and shit like that. So I feel like yes, for hiding, easy if you're not moving, but if you have to move, it's gonna be a little bit more difficult to stay silent.
Yeah. Not stepping on any twigs.
Yeah, or just falling into a tree. Well,
That's twice you've mentioned tree wells.
I'm so scared of tree wells.
Are you?
I was like, I think it was because we were winter camping once and we were doing a little snowshoeing, and they're like, don't go off the path because you could fall into like a tree well like under the snow.
Yeah.
And so I don't know why, but that's stuck in my brain for the rest of my life. And now if I'm ever walking through, and our forests do not have tree wells.
Yeah, they do.
Not the ones in like the urban areas. Like if I walk in the forest behind my house, there will not be a tree well there.
No.
But like to this day, even if I'm just going on a walk outside in my backyard, I'm like, I don't want to get too close to that tree. And I'm like, Megan, you stand by that tree on a regular basis.
There's 6 inches of snow.
Get over it. You know what I mean? But yes, in the wilderness when you're up in the mountains, yes, there are tree wells. Be scared of tree wells. But like, I don't know.
Tree wells are the reason that I don't go skiing off the path.
Yeah.
But that's just common sense. Like.
But people that don't live in mountainous areas will not know that.
Yeah.
Because like the only reason I was taught that was because we used to go hiking in the forest, in the woods during the winter.
Yep.
And like it was the only reason I was ever taught that. Otherwise, I would not have that knowledge.
Yeah, they ingrained that into me when I was learning how to snowboard.
Yeah.
Right? They're like, people die all the time. You get stuck upside down, and you're just, oh man, that sounds awful.
Yeah, don't tell me not be afraid of tree wells. I'm afraid of tree wells.
I'm not telling you not to be afraid. It's just like, very specifically, you've mentioned
like,
it
relax,
twice.
Megan. You're not going to fall in a tree well. Flash forward 30 years. This is how I go. In a tree. I knew it.
In 6 inches of snow.
Yeah. Damn.
In terms of dangerous for the landscape, I mean,
tree wells, but yeah.
Tree wells, yeah, obviously are going to be the biggest ones.
Don't get me started again.
But I think if we're talking purely in terms of the landscape itself, I think it's going to be pretty safe compared to a lot of the other ones, right? Like mountains or coastal or on the sea, right?
There are a lot of hostile environments. This isn't quite as hostile.
Yeah.
It's wilderness, but it's not actively trying to fucking kill you.
No.
Yeah, like maybe if it's a windstorm, you might have a tree fall on you, but
I was going to say, if you add in the elements, yes, it becomes quite dangerous because like when it rains, water will stay because the roots hold things in place. You will, if it's too warm or too hot and someone lights a fire to keep warm at night or whatever, and then all of a sudden you have a forest fire. Escaping a forest fire, fucking dangerous.
But it's like we have to add an element to the forest to make it dangerous.
To make it dangerous, but it can be.
It can be, but yeah, it takes a little doing.
Effort.
Yeah. In terms of hunting and tracking and gathering, I mean, fairly easy, right? Especially if you're tracking in like a wet forest where it sucks in shoe prints and stuff like that.
Yep.
You know, you can find broken branches where someone was crossing through. There's a lot of ways that you can find things to track.
And there's a lot of things that live in the forest.
Yeah, a lot of
so it's
things
like you
that live
won't
in the
be
forest.
without things to hunt, right?
Yeah. A couple kinds of monsters that you'll find here. I mean, a lot. Sturges, owl bears, green and gold dragons.
Most beasts.
Yeah, most beasts. Shambling mounds, a lot of plant creatures, trolls.
Fae,
yeah. A couple kinds of armies that you're going to find here. I mean, pretty much everything. If we're talking about like what's moving through here, right? Because oftentimes an army will travel through a forest to hide their numbers, right? So you're going to find orcs, goblins, gnolls,
You're also going to find elves and human armies and whatnot doing it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much everybody. You're right.
Yeah, this one was really easy.
Yeah.
What kind of unique features does it have? I mean, groves, lakes.
Yeah.
I wanted to say caves, but I mean, caves aren't really unique to forests. They're pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
But other than that, they got lots of trees.
You got rolling hills and...
Yeah.
Tree houses, like natural tree houses. Like, hollowed out trees and stuff like that. Like...
Mm-hmm. You're going to find deadfalls here where you won't in other places. Just like that massive mound of trees.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, like a tree graveyard kind of thing? Or like where there was a forest fire and then there's just a bunch of stumps?
No, more like when there's a strong gust, like gale force winds go through.
Okay.
It knocks down just a bunch of trees.
Yeah.
And every once in a while you'll see this by like logging areas, but these are like man-made ones. But where all the trees have gone down and like the root system comes up with them. And they just make these impassable barriers. If 5 or 6 trees fall on each other, or you get a whole grove of half-dead trees that all get blown down in the same storm, you can't travel through those easily.
No.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like a wall of roots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get big trees out here too. So you're talking like 10 feet across of just a solid bramble.
Yeah, these are walls that have landed in front of you.
Yeah. In terms of what kind of magical features I would add to this, okay, so I actually adapted this from another idea I had, but an enchanted bog. I was trying to think of like hazards you could have. So what I would do is along one of the roads, there's like a little dip, and then at the bottom there's just this dirty brown puddle, right? It's probably only like ankle deep, and then there's just a bunch of desiccated corpses around the outside, and they can poke it with sticks, nothing will happen, weapons. Right? Doesn't react to anything inanimate, but as soon as something alive touches it, it like grabs on and then slowly starts spreading over the body like that mirror in the Matrix does to Neo.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things combined into one idea.
Yeah.
No, I really like that. That's an ooze. Right?
Almost, yeah.
Yeah.
But I was thinking like, oh, how could you do it? Like maybe it was water dripping off like a fey tree, and so it kind of like absorbs magic. I thought it was fun and creepy.
All right, that's forests. All right, I'm going to talk about the grasslands. So all I can think about when I am imagining a grassland, all I can think about is Pokemon.
Fuck's sakes.
You know, find little critters along the way and like heighten, like, you know, tall
Get
grass
yourself a
or
Weedle.
whatever. Get yourself a Weedle or, you know, what have you. Or the other thing I picture immediately is something along like the Feylands where you have like that long, endless field that has nothing in it except for like that one singular tree sitting in the center that you know is magical and will probably kill you if you approach it.
Yeah.
I also imagine that.
Okay. I kind of imagine it was a movie on Netflix that came out not too long ago. It was like In the Tall Grass.
Fuck
Yeah.
Yep. Nope, that's creepy. Well, when I think about traversing through the grasslands and think about what can make it somewhat difficult, obviously I feel you can make it difficult terrain depending on how tall the grass is and depending on how tall your players are. Because if you're a halfling wandering through tall grass that's up to someone's knees, it might be up to your shoulders. You know what I mean? So depending on your group, tall grass might not be a problem to somebody, but it's going to be a problem to somebody else. Right?
I keep thinking about the velociraptors in The Lost World, where you can see their tails moving like shark fins through the long grass. Only use kobolds through like short grass.
Yeah. Well, that was one of my ideas for like when it came to like hunting or chasing things down in like these in like grasslands is you'll just see little bits and pieces popping up like running through these, and that's how you follow them and can track and stuff like that, right? But that being said, when I think of other kinds of like plants or wildlife that would grow here, I would consider things like poisonous plants can grow in tall grass or living plants, you know, like the bram shambles or whatever those are called.
Shambling mounds.
The bram shambles.
The bram shambles.
You have been fucking eaten by shambling mounds.
I have.
Yeah, the bram shambles.
Yeah, I think I actually mentioned that in my actual notes. But I imagine like also adding things like stinging nettles, like plants from real life that would just be really annoying to traverse through. Plants that have seeds that get implanted on your skin or your clothes, and then you carry them into other areas could also be like a magical
like growing plant that is now like taking over your bag or something like that.
Okay.
Right?
Or what was the field of flowers that Dorothy and the others had to go through in The Wizard of Oz?
The
to put them all to
poppies,
sleep?
yeah, drugs.
I'm sorry, the opiate fields.
Yeah.
I forgot. Yeah.
But yeah, I think you could just if you want to make a grassy area feel more exciting, just add shit that grows, right? It's plants. So.
Oh, or what was it? The plants that scream.
Shriekers?
Shriekers.
Yeah, those little fucking mushrooms.
I
Yeah.
also wrote that.
Yeah.
But tracking in these areas, as I mentioned, can be quite easy because you could probably see footprints. There would be bent grass. And then it would be easy to spot someone, especially if it's an open field, because there's vast openness in front of you. So if they're tall running through the field, you're going to be like, there it is.
Yeah.
Like you're tracking a deer, you're going to see it running across the field. So unless you like get into like rolling hills or like valleys and peaks and valleys that exist. But...
Yeah, if you're moving across Saskatchewan, you can fucking see the next city for 8 fucking hours before you get to it.
It's so weird coming from the West Coast and going Central or East Coast and not having any mountains. Yeah. It's eerie.
I literally talk about the oppressive nature of too much sky, and people from back east don't fucking understand it. But
yeah.
I'm used to having literal walls on at least one side of me at all times. So.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. Well, when it comes to other creatures you might come across, I kind of mentioned that you'd stumble on probably like smaller critters like your mice, your rats, your deer, like your common like animals that just live and graze within these fields. But something I really wanted to focus on is birds.
Yeah.
Because it is an open field, there are going to be all kinds of bird-like creatures, and there's tons within, like, the DMG of just, like, different types of birds that would exist, because they're going to be picking off the animals that live within the grasslands, right?
Yeah.
So the animals within the grass are probably not what you're going to be worried about, but it's going to be the vultures or whatever that's sitting up above you. Or, like, you know...
Yeah, you're going to have birds of prey in the lone trees or the little copse of trees that are around.
Yeah.
The predators are going to live in there.
Exactly, right? I could also imagine, like... if this was like a field that was lined by like a forest or something like that, you would have a colony of Aarakocra or something that live like on the edges of these fields.
Yeah.
Because they utilize them, A, maybe for a little farm town, or B, just to, you know, there's going to be so many critters living in here that they can just live off the land.
It's interesting because you're going to get a lot of nomads, I think. Your centaurs and orcs and whatnot will be in the grasslands moving around. Yeah. For very similar, it mentions, I can't remember which book it is, it mentions that orcs, probably Volos, would raid but not burn down little villages that have popped up and whatnot, because they've got a circle, like a cycle that they go through, that in 4 years, they will be back to hit this village again, because it will have recovered and have things to raid again.
Yeah.
Right, and so there will be a lot of nomadic movement. You could see quite a few different kinds of intelligent creatures out here.
Exactly, because like in my mind, an open field just screams farmland. So any society or colony could build up a little farm on a grassland and just exist.
Yeah.
Right. Whether they are like living in like a horseshoe or a circle or what have you, they're just going to use the land because it's easy to use. Because you're not going to make a farm in a forest. There won't be a farm in an urban setting. You're going to be looking outskirts to these grasslands to have these little colonies, little farmer families that live there cultivating the land, right? And it can be, in my mind, any race, what have you. I also imagine just like hill giants would just be floating around in these areas too, right?
Absolutely.
Picking off like the littles that live there, right?
You're not going to have too many like big creatures because there's not a whole lot to support them. So like two or three hill giants moving together or a couple of ogres makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to go big, I'm going to go underground, like my bullets and my purple worms and shit.
Yeah, like more like your gross ground creatures. But but speaking of like larger creatures, when talking about battle or using like what armies would be seen on these, I feel like a large, vast grassland would be used as the battlefield.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you could see any army on here.
Yeah.
Or it's where they're traversing to get from one place to another. Like, because it's open land, you can see where you're going, it's safe space.
Yeah.
Right? So, I had a really cute idea that if you wanted to make a grass field more interesting, turn it into a tall grass corn maze. and force your players to map it out as they're walking. So, like, imagine, like, you have your own map of, like, what the area looks like and, like, what things are going to come across. And they actually have to keep track of what they run into. So someone actually has to map out where they're walking so they don't get lost.
Okay, that could be pretty fun.
Yeah.
I have built a corn maze in my life, and
Like, we're talking real life?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a pain in the ass. Building, like, exterior outdoor mazes where you cannot see the beginning or the end
Yeah.
Yeah.
is a piece of shit to do.
I can imagine.
Like, mapping that out alone when you're building it is a pain in the ass. Going through when you don't know what the plan is supposed to be is fucking brutal.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I imagine that's really hard. I went to a corn maze when I was in elementary school, and our school got banned from the corn maze because we just destroyed it. We did not go through, like, just went right through the corn
Oh my
stalks.
god. You jerks.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in Scouts and the movie Signs came out. My dad had a big thing of doing outdoor movies because we just had a projector and we had a big screen that we could watch movies on.
Cool.
So we actually went to one of our corn mazes, watched Signs in the middle of the cornfield, and then did the cornfield at night.
That's
all
scary.
right.
It was really cool. I was scared out of my mind, but it was great.
Have you seen, I'm sorry, total sidebar. Have you seen, there's a theater somewhere in the States, but it's like a drive-in, but you get in little boats and rafts and dinghies and stuff, and it's on water, and they've got this massive screen, and you just, like, float around, and you can paddle over to the bar and stuff, and it's really cool. But they showed Jaws in it one time. I'd be fucking done. I am done.
Or like those crocodile movies. What are those ones called?
Like Lake Placid?
Lake Placid and
Yeah.
shit like that. Fuck that.
I am fucking done.
Yeah.
No.
But otherwise, that is grassy fields, my friends. So now we're going to move on to a couple of different environments that have to do with water. Are we going to keep the same rotation, or are we going to roll again?
You're in charge.
Yeah.
Let's roll again. Can you get it together? All right, I got
8.
9.
Oh, 1.
Suck it. All right, I'm going to talk about...
Save the best for last.
Okay. You think that about yourself. I'm going to talk about
we all.
swamps.
Swamps.
So all I can really think about is, of course, I would just like to be a bog hag who lives here.
Next.
You're done. But when I imagine a swamp, I imagine things like it's obviously overgrown, rotting, like gross, wet, seaweedy like things. It's very dark. It's very dingy. It's moist. It's foggy. And just smells of rot. Like the full circle of life is happening here. You know what I mean?
Like Florida.
Yeah. It is Florida.
That's not a circle of life. That's a dead end of life.
Dead end of life, yeah. But at the end of the day, like how you said, it's called, my next sentence is, it would be a very special kind of person to live here. But yeah, when it comes to dangers of being in these areas, it just screams difficult terrain, obviously. I never imagined swamps being that deep, so even anyone with like a swim speed wouldn't necessarily benefit from the amount of liquid that resides here. So whether you're on foot or on fin, either or is going to be not a great time for you.
Yeah, you got to be uniquely built like a crocodile or something.
Yeah, like a webbed amphibious type of foot. So in the folks that I thought would like live here, if not just like a bog hag that lives by herself or like with her hag friends, is like your lizard folk, like your more amphibious lizard folk, or those kinds of things would live here.
To that point, in the campaign builder, we invented swamp elves because sea elves wouldn't cut it. Right?
That's fair.
Like, it just doesn't feel right to have sea elves in a swamp. Right?
No.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, I feel like this is where your hermits would go. Like, people that just want to be away from the city. And, like, there's, again, full circle of life here. There's food. There's enough things to, like, forage and eat. And you could just live here if you wanted to. It's just really gross and moist. When it comes to challenges of living within the swamp, it would, of course, be... Even though there's, like, small little creatures, there's going to be a lack of large wildlife.
Except for snakes and crocodiles.
But that's what I mean, like, okay,
Catfish.
that's very specific, though.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm thinking, like, your general swamp in the forest behind your house, like, that's where you want to live, like, it's going to be tiny little creatures. You're not going to have a lot of the larger forest life coming here.
No.
Yeah, so there's gonna be swarms, bugs, like all those annoying gnats, like that kind of stuff is where you're gonna come across, right?
You get bats and shit too, but you're right, small stuff, right?
Yeah, like your small potatoes things. So when it comes to survival, you might not be able to have like a big hunt here. You're gonna have to explore elsewhere to get like big game if that's what you require to live, right?
There's gonna be a lot of vegetation though.
Yes. So yeah, lots of nice little nibbles, lots of salad.
Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of mushroom salads.
So many mushroom walks.
okay.
Yeah. When it comes to being able to like stay stealthy with these in these areas, it's kind of similar to what I mentioned about being in the forest. Yeah, there's probably a lot of things to hide behind, a lot of bogs, a lot of like thick weed to hide in. But once you have to move,
Everything knows you're there.
everything knows you're there. You're making a lot of noise. The water's moving. There's squelching sounds like constantly, right? When it comes to tracking things within these lands, I feel like it would be somewhat easy because you would have swampy like footprints but then at the same time it would disappear once the puddle shifts and moves. So it's kind of like, yes, tracking through here would be easy if it was like soon. Like, I don't know how to say that. Like,
yeah, you've got to get to it quickly, or
Yeah.
it's going to disappear relatively quickly.
like if you see a track in the ground, it's because it happened recently,
Yeah.
not because it happened a week ago. So
Yeah, I would imagine the landscape is shifting all of the time in swampland
Yes.
as well. Like, even your landmarks are going to have to be pretty specific.
yeah, because I even meant like in my mind, even if you're hunting something and you come across a swamp, I feel like your hunting rolls and like those skill checks are going to have to, like the difficulty is going to have to increase. Because you're now navigating the difficult terrain and dealing with like the loss of some of the footprints, or if they were bleeding, it's not going to show anymore because it goes into the water, doesn't get rubbed on a plant. You know what I mean? So
It's also dark too, so I think it covers a lot.
and if it's foggy, if you add the fog factor to it, like
Yeah, lots
depending
of-
what time of day it is.
Do you guys
Lots
feel?
of quick rains,
Yeah.
quick heavy rains.
Do you guys feel like in a swamp versus a forest, the canopy is going to be? Which one is the canopy thicker and darker and more impressive?
I think that if the forest would have the darker like canopy because the trees are taller and like
Yeah.
the shade and would be there.
Yeah.
I feel like in a
I think they're
swamp
also-
you could have open spaces, but it's just because I feel like the vegetation's lower in a swamp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time I've seen a swamp, it like the trees are pretty like spread out and they're normally thin.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas here,
Until you get to the point of like the bayou,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is like, do you guys count that as coastal or is that swampland?
are we talking like mangroves?
Yeah, I'm talking like the Louisiana, like.
I don't know well enough to be honest.
Yeah. Can tell you. Other than my previous mention about hags, I would sure imagine you would find other races like again lizard folk I mentioned before, but like things like bullywugs could probably live here.
Oh yeah,
Like
all your
Frogs.
frog people.
Yeah.
frog.
There's so many frog people.
Yeah. And this could be a great stomping ground for any colony of any kind that's a druid. It's a full circle of life lives here. It's its own existing biome kind of thing.
Yeah.
The plant life, in similar to like how I talked about when it comes to the grassy fields, I feel like the plant life can be alive. So here you can also have your shambling mounds or your shrieking mushrooms. And it can go. You could go even as big as to house a black dragon if you wanted to, because swamplands tend to be where black dragons like to layer themselves
yeah.
out.
I
right?
feel like at that point you're getting more into a bayou.
Yeah,
You're getting,
more inland kind of thing.
well, just bigger, deeper waters,
Yeah.
right?
But I think it would be really cool, like even if you're on the outskirts of one, just walking through a swamp, you come across maybe some dragon eggs. You never know. If you wanted to make it even more difficult, you can add things to like the puddles. So make pools of water either poisoned or acidic, depending on how close you are to a mountainous area. In my head, all I can think about is like Dante's Peak.
Jesus. Oh my God, that poor woman.
Right? Or in general, just make it maybe like if it was a swamp that was a natural hot spring, so that the waters themselves are actually very warm and hot. So it's just uncomfortable and humid, right?
You'd have a lot of like noxious clouds around as well.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because like, again, the vegetation is like dying out, so it's gonna smell rotten, and like it might not be healthy to breathe in some areas, right?
Yeah.
So those are some things to keep in mind. But that's swamps.
Now I'm thinking of the fire swamp from Princess Bride.
With the big rats or whatever
Yeah.
they're called. Yeah.
Also, what's the difference between a bayou and a swamp? Like, what makes a bayou a bayou?
Scope, I think.
Because bayous have like rivers and shit in them, like full on.
Yeah, you need like a hovercraft or a speedboat or something to move around in a bayou, but not necessarily in a swamp. You can. That's a good question. None of us are experts on this because we live in a temperate rainforest.
Yes.
We don't have swampland. The swamps that we have are little swampy areas.
We
right?
don't have crocodiles.
No.
We have frogs.
Yeah.
But no, I would say that swamps are going to be more standing water,
Yeah.
right? Whereas bayous are flowing water.
Okay.
Swamps are going to be a lot more rotten than a bayou. Bayou is going to be, because the water's moving.
It's more like lively and tropical.
Closer to the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're going to get bigger reptiles
Yeah.
in a
Okay.
bayou than you will in a swamp.
Yeah. All right.
There you go. Who's next? Adam?
That'd be me. Speaking of water, let's go beneath it. So in underwater campaigns, you got to look for the different kinds of settlements there. This one's a little bit... I find this fucking annoying because between Star Wars Episode 1 and Aquaman, and like we've seen underwater cities and shit, and they're all like gleaming palaces that are full of like... They're just a metropolis with a bubble around them half the time and shit, and that's not what it should be. Now when you're dealing with proper, like, creatures with gills. So the settlements you're going to have here are going to be palaces built of coral or sunken cities and ruins that have been reclaimed, right? They're going to be more natural, and we're not going to have the sand castles that are Little Mermaid or, right, like the things that look like they're made of giant conch shells. Like, that shit doesn't make sense to me. It shouldn't be opalescent, pearly shit. And it's a beautiful underwater city. Maybe sea elves.
I mean, considering pearls are made by sea creatures.
Exactly. Like, how big is that fucking oyster? Right? So,
could be huge. I mean, we are talking about fantasy.
oh, it could be. If it's from the plane of water, it absolutely could be. But then, like, for the most part, I feel like when you're going to find an underwater city, you're going to run into some specific kind of challenges, right? And nothing lasts forever. Do you know how quickly shit rots at the bottom of the ocean? Or gets picked over, right? Like, even bones disappear really quickly. So the idea of, hey, look, we built this city doesn't really hold for me, right? So
That makes sense.
a lot of the challenges that we have underwater are obviously breathing, right? But
It's fair.
yeah. But we also have the idea that communicating is going to be hard, right? Because you can't speak underwater. Sight is going to be limited, and it's going to be cold as fuck, right? And so these are real challenges that civilizations will either have to overcome, or their populace will be able to just naturally deal with this kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, speaking underwater is possible. Like, think of whales, right?
Sure, but like, I'm talking about the creatures like sea elves that have vocal cords.
Okay.
It's going to be more difficult for you to speak underwater.
Yeah.
So, speaking of the races, the big ones are Tritons, Lokatha, Sea Elves, Merfolk, and Sahuagin. These are the big ones you're going to run into over and over and over again. They're all going to have different settlements, but for the most part, they're going to have to follow the same rules. There will be no roads, because travel underwater is going to be done by landmark and distance and by current, maybe. Your difficult terrain will be literally everything unless you have a swim speed. And stealth here is going to be way easier because the visibility... One of the scariest things ever for me is when you see a character that is underwater and slowly that massive shape starts to form, where it's just a dark mass at first and it starts to get more features, and then you realize you're looking at some gargantuan fucking creature. That terrifies the shit out of me.
Yeah.
So the fact that something that big can get that close without you knowing, scary as fuck.
Okay. Okay. Speaking of stealth, though, like, because earlier when you mentioned when you were talking about the urban environment, you were talking about, you know, when you're doing stealth, you were doing more charisma, right? And so I think it's going to be the same thing underwater. Stealth is going to be a very different game, right? How things track, how things find their prey, right? Because one, sound travels underwater very, very well. And then two, like, you think of like sharks where they can smell blood half a mile away.
Yeah, I was thinking more for player characters. Stealth is going to be hard, right?
Yeah.
For creatures, some creatures will be able to do it very easily.
Yeah.
When it comes to vehicles and mounts, I mean, you have large fish, aquatic mammals, and reptiles for mounts, and then vehicles are going to be submersibles, like the apparatus of Qualish. So there are a handful of things out there, but it always feels silly to me. Every time that I see fucking Aquaman riding a dolphin, I'm like, This is not my jam, guys. This is not what I'm about.
Or a seahorse.
Yeah. There are a whole lot of extreme dangers underwater. The creatures can grow much bigger here. Most surfaces have places for creatures to hide. Plant life usually can sting or it's poisonous. And you've got the breathing in the cold is trying to kill you. These are the problems that are active issues that you are going to struggle with.
Yeah.
So this is a hostile environment.
Yeah.
Hunting, tracking, and gathering. I'm going to say hunting and gathering, easy. Tracking, not so much. Not unless you have that shark nose for blood, right? So
Yeah.
the kind of fantastical monsters we're going to get down here are going to be aboliths, morkoths, kraken, dragon turtles, chul, marrow, crabfolk, and kuatoa. We're going to get sea hags, sea furies, and naiads, and then water elementals. You'll notice there's a lot of psychic involved in aquatic shit, and that is because it's hard to talk underwater. So as far as armies, I don't know, man. Tritons, sea elves, and Sahuagin, those are the armies you're going to run into. Probably not much more than that. Expect to see things like coral features, underwater catacombs. I'd even count shipwrecks as being a natural and feature because the surface is going to just start dropping shit down into the underwater, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
It rains stuff underwater, so
Items.
yeah,
Things.
peoples and places. Magical features that you can run into. I started to come up with a bunch of unique ideas that are very specific, but I realized that I was consistently looking at bioluminescence and exothermic features, things that are giving off heat or light. The other thing to think about, and is one of my favorite genres, is underwater aliens, from the Abyss to Sphere to Underwater, the movie Underwater. Massive alien weird mind flayer ships that have crashed in the ocean, and then you get into it and you are trapped in this space underwater where everything is hostile and very strange. So underwater does give us that kind of feel sometimes that I think gets overlooked in D&D.
Yeah.
And then of course clearly you need specific spells to watch out for, like water breathing, shape water, control water, but be prepared for lightning and poison. This is what you're up against, right?
Yeah. Interesting. Do you think that underwater settlements would be built close to exothermal vents?
Depends. In the plane of water, absolutely not. So anything that's coming from the plane of water
would exist when it's cold,
yeah,
right?
So your Tritons and your Sahuagin and your Aboleths don't need that shit.
Yeah.
But maybe Sea Elves and Lokatha and Kuatoa that... Lokatha, maybe not. But like Sea Elves and Kuatoa, they can get up on land and walk around, and they're used to... They communicate. They've got their own languages. They are going to have areas where there's going to be little oxygen bubbles and whatnot. They probably need a certain amount of heat and whatnot. So I could see it for some, for sure. Mm-hmm. You're also going to have far bigger variety of life around these like exothermic vents. In reality, you get all sorts of crazy, weird creatures that
Like lava snails.
I fucking love the iron fucking shell.
Yeah, those things are fucking cool.
This is the second time we've been brought up on the podcast, actually, so it's funny. And as a matter of fact, it might have been you and me last time.
I love this for you guys.
Yeah. Do you not know about the lava snails?
No, I don't know
They're
about the
metal
lava
as
snails.
fuck. They're like
literally.
Yeah,
Like,
their
their
shell is
iron?
made of iron. They
Yeah.
produce iron.
And they got like iron plates along where they move.
All right, that's dope.
Yeah. These things are fucking rad.
They live in like 400-degree environments.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're going to run into a lot of like... If it's going to be hot, you're going to get more colorful fish. You're going to get a lot of different kinds of plants. But the more creatures there are, the more hostile they are. Because they've got to live and vie for dominance in this area, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't think you're going to find a whole lot of sharks. Maybe a reef shark, but like the big sharks are out in the big empty ocean.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
I was just curious. I never thought about it. I never thought about exothermal vents in terms of D&D. So.
I like putting volcanoes where volcanoes shouldn't be, like underwater or in the Arctic and shit. Just so like
all right.
you go up into the Arctic and you're doing a snow campaign and suddenly you're fighting fire giants. What the fuck did that come from? That's rad. Like
Volcanoes. All right, Kyle, you're next.
All right. So I got coast. So where land meets the sea. A couple kind of settlements that you're going to find here. Fishing villages. keeps guarding the entranceways to waters. Oh my god, I wrote that backwards. Fishing villages, keeps that guard the entrances to waterways. Stuff like that. I mean, I don't think you're gonna find port villages as well.
Trading ports.
I was like, who's gonna build a city on the coast? Not thinking that we live in a coastal city.
I was like, okay, you're just talking about our city.
Yeah.
There'll be a ferry terminal.
There'll be people with too many bike lanes.
Yeah.
Bike lanes. Two-wheeled carriages. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Who would live there?
It's my first day. What are gonna be some of the biggest challenges? I can't believe I didn't put 2 and 2 together.
We live there.
Yeah. I'm a genius. I'm killing it today. What is going to be one of the biggest challenges? Unpredictable and inclement weather. Normally the ground is not going to be arable too close to the sea because there's a lot of salt in the air.
Yeah.
And threats from both land and sea, right? Especially in Dungeons and Dragons world where you got the worst of both worlds.
Yeah.
What kind of races are you going to find here? Close to the shore, you're going to find the water genasi, turtles, humans, sea elves, sirens, tritons, all the normal stuff. Roads, I mean, coastal travel has usually been pretty big.
Bike lanes.
Yeah, bike lanes.
Yeah.
Messed me up.
Sorry, God.
Sea-doo lanes.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I was also waiting for an opportunity to talk about how potheads live in coastal cities as well.
Ah, the hippies.
Yeah.
Surfers.
Yeah.
Cobblestones.
So, I mean, coastal travel has normally been pretty big, right? It has generally been pretty safe. You have, you can be supplied by both land and sea. So roads are generally going to be pretty good around coastal areas. But once again, it's also going to depend on how rural you are and how far away you are from major cities. So it could just be dirt paths. Difficult terrain here is going to look like large rocks, sandy beaches, rocky beaches. Like, our beaches here are fucking difficult terrain to walk along.
Yes.
Fuck, aren't they just?
No.
Barnacles. Don't even get me started.
Oh my god.
Barnacles.
Fucking barnacles.
There's some rocky beaches that we have here that are so impossible. I'm afraid I'm gonna break a fucking ankle.
Yeah.
Every single step.
Then you're going to fall in the water and you're going to drown.
Yeah, I feel like I'm Megan on high heels on a cobblestone path.
I just need that on a t-shirt and be like, Megan, and a pair of high heels and some cobblestone. I died.
Oh, you know what you say is that I'm in more trouble than Megan on a cobblestone path with high heels.
Yeah.
This is a level of measurement. How much trouble you're in. My ankles. Shit.
Slippery rocks.
Especially in a coastal town.
Yeah.
It's that salt water.
How easy or hard is it taking me to use vehicles or mounts off-road? I mean, pretty fucking tough, because off-road's going to be in the water, unless you brought a seahorse to ride on.
You got beaches too, but I mean, what?
You're not going to get carriage down a beach.
No, I was about to say, you're going to have small watercraft, I guess, to get from one to, canoes and
jet skis.
And jet skis, yeah. Yeah, that's where I was going. Rowboats and jet skis. The perfect combination.
Yeah, that tinkerer down the way.
But, I was thinking about, you could get giant lizards as mounts to go across beaches and the rocky terrain. So, there's a couple of options in the published material, but you got to get creative with it.
Yeah.
Horses are not going to do it.
Yeah. You're going to have to be very specific.
Yeah.
So, how dangerous is the landscape? I mean, it can be very dangerous. You've got to deal with shit coming off the sea, so rogue waves or, big storms coming off the ocean as well.
The wind.
Yeah, the wind is a big one.
Do you think that you're going to see a lot of ruins as well? Because there's so much danger on the coast that as a small settlement, like a little port city or a lighthouse or whatnot, gets attacked and crumbles, people are not going to go back out there necessarily and rebuild it because it's so fucking remote. they may just find a different place to try again further down the coast,
probably.
right? So I think you're going to find a lot of eerie haunted ruins and shit along coasts.
Haunted lighthouses.
Yeah, there you go.
Haunted lighthouses for sure. Although by the same token, I think you will find a lot of places built over in terms of along the coast, because coastal cities are normally built where there's a bay, where there's a natural bay, right? So wherever there's a bay, that's where you're going to find a coastal city. So yes and no.
Yeah, I think that you're right. You're going to have, there will be cities. I bet
Not within the same generation, right? Because people aren't, like, if someone sees the town attacked and burned and razed to the ground, chances are you're going to be like, well, that's a bad place to build a town. But you give it 100 years, someone's going to try again.
Yeah. I also feel like you're going to get little, like, hermit settlements that are, like, upside-down capsized ships on the beach, right? With a hole in the side of it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're going to get weird outskirts of society. Like, you're going to get the fucking weirdos out on the coast as well. Because it's easy living as well. You get fish, and there's probably some access to fresh water that trickles into the, larger bodies of water.
Yeah, if you're close by a river.
Yeah, there's going to be... Yeah, like open areas. There's going to be foliage. There's going to be animals that are around both in the sea and on land. Like
even just like little tide pools.
It's like living on a
life.
delta, right?
Yeah.
Like a river, like stream. Yeah.
Like it feels like you could eke out a rough living here. Mm-hmm. You could do it, but it's tough.
Yeah. In terms of tracking and hunting, I mean, probably pretty hard.
I guess you're fishing.
You're fishing more than hunting.
Yeah.
Unless you go inland for the hunting.
Yeah.
Right?
But there'll be a lot of animals, especially large animals, that come down to the coast, right?
Yeah, you have the bears coming down for their fishies or whatever.
Yeah. So there
well,
are.
No, they normally do it by rivers, don't they?
Yeah, but
Where
if
it's
you're
all kind of
coastal,
contained.
like to your point, there's going to be fresh water trickling into the seawater somewhere.
True. Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. Lots of birds too.
Seagulls, fuck those guys.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Ew.
You said it.
You could just eat them.
You implied it. The implications.
The implication. Speaking of boats.
What kind of monsters are you gonna find here? I mean, once again, a lot. Anything from the sea. So merfolk, Sahuagin, blue and bronze dragons, sea spawn, sea hags, marids.
I love that you can find a hag anywhere.
Yeah.
Very diverse.
They're very adaptable, these hags.
We love a good hag.
A couple kinds of armies that you're gonna find here. I mean, once again, water-based races, but then you're also gonna find land-based ones, right? If they're coming
like naval
across,
armies.
They're coming across from another continent to wage war here, you could face an armada, right? Natural and unique features. I mean, you've got half-submerged caves, which you're not likely going to find in a lot of other places. Shallows, tide pools, stuff like that. Magical features that I would want to add to this environment. Elder Tempest, for one. Was thinking really badass. I would love to chase a party with one of those. Mm-hmm. I was thinking about haunted shipwrecks, stuff like that. I was thinking about a monster that would act as kind of a lighthouse. I was thinking like a will-o-wisp, where it lures ships in when it's foggy or at night.
What are those fucking fish called that have the big fucking light?
Anglerfish?
The anglerfish.
Yeah.
Like that, but on the end of a kraken.
Yeah. Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah, I was just thinking like up on top of the rocks, right? Like it's a ghost, like maybe it died in a shipwreck or whatever, and now it just acts as a light to bring more ships in. So you've got this just graveyard of shipwrecks against the bottom of a cliff.
It's the captain's wife that waited, even though the ship went down. She waited every day, holding a lantern, and she died there. Now we're
Is that a movie? What movie is that?
Is that a movie?
I feel like that's a movie.
I know.
Or it's just a myth.
I read something kind of like that in a book.
Yeah.
But it was like a fantasy book.
I feel like we may have read the same book, but I can't remember what book it is.
It was Malazan Book of the Fallen.
Oh. Anyways.
Yeah.
Nope.
But they would, there actually it was a big thing that they used to do, like bandits would do, right?
Yeah.
They would fake a lighthouse to bring
Well, that's a
in
good point.
shipwrecks.
There's going to be a fuck ton of pirates as well.
Oh yeah, lots of pirates. And then also emotional echoes. I actually was just reading about these from Tash's Culture and Everything. Have you heard about these?
Yeah, actually, these are going to get covered in an episode coming up too.
Okay.
So yeah, but I fucking love these.
Yeah, it's a really cool idea that I never really thought of. It's just like if your character is in a certain place and then they feel whatever emotion in that specific place, then all of a sudden they'll kind of get like a whisper, and then they have to roll a charisma check, I think. Otherwise, it'll intensify that feeling. So it'll be like if you're standing on a cliff face and you might feel sad because it reminds you of someone you love that you lost, and then oh shit, you got to roll this thing, and then the suggestion is like doubt or sadness, right? And then
You feel it more.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I have put that in every fucking haunted house that I have, where one of the triggers is if you feel scared, then you get a vision, an idea, an insight into the last victim in this room, right?
Nice.
And so you guys have gotten visions and shit in game, and I've never telegraphed why.
Yeah.
I've just been like the scary thing, and then someone will be like, "Ew, no, thank you. I fucking hate it. It's gross, and I don't like it." Like perfect.
Yeah.
You get a vision of, right? And so I love emotional echoes. I think it's rad.
Yeah, that's a great thing to add.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be really good in the Feywild as well,
Yeah.
right?
Crazy enough. All right, moving on to more difficult areas to traverse through. Let's roll dice again.
Figure it out, Kyle. Come on.
I couldn't see it. I thought Megan grabbed both of them.
16.
6.
8.
All right.
All right. Well, I'm going off the main fucking books again to a different kind of terrain that a lot of people are aware of, and I think a lot of high-level campaigns play with, but we don't have any material that supports it. And that's the sky.
Whee!
The settlements you're going to find up here are, like, at first thought, none, but there's actually a couple. First of all, cliff faces and mountaintops are going to have settlements, right? So of like Aarakocra and Goliaths and whatnot. But you're also going to have settlements of floating castles. Look out for beanstalks, because cloud giants live on. You all right, Megan? Someone mentioned giants. Yeah. They live on solid cloud, right? So
Yeah.
I feel like I've heard you mention beanstalks several times.
I do love myself a good beanstalk.
Yeah.
Moving on. The challenges that you find here are going to be the fact that if you're going to try to travel through the area, you have no available resources without landing somewhere. It's not like you can even go fishing for skyfish. Like, there's nothing. No, hold on. You'll laugh. That is a thing you can do in the astral plane. You can go
Sky
fishing.
fishing?
Yeah, off the side of your spelljammer to catch, like, space fish.
Yeah. Weird fucking. Anyways.
Yeah.
There's a sentence that's never been said before. So it's going to be fucking difficult to hide up here.
Yeah.
And you are dealing with 3D maneuvering. It's not just on a 2D plane anymore. You've got to not only be concerned about going up and down, but also you have to be concerned about other creatures being above you or below you as well. And remember, it's going to be cold. So the races you're going to find up here are Aarakocra and Owlin. And that's it. Even the ASMRs and the were-ravens and stuff, they're not living in the sky. You're not going to find creatures that just live up here, like races. There are definitely creatures that fly. The sky swimmer from Ravnica is just this massive snake that just lives in the sky.
Yeah. But yeah, you're going to have to land to find a society somewhere, right?
You hang out in the sky, you don't live there.
Yeah. You don't necessarily have roads. You're traveling by landmark again, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes those landmarks are going to be constellations. When it comes to difficult terrain, you may think at first that there's none, but there's definitely weather. You've seen before, especially like fighter jet, like Top Gun movies, or like spaceship movies, like Serenity, where people are flying through canyons and whatnot as well. So there's these tall, empty, open canyons, and that will be difficult terrain to try to navigate through. Large caverns as well. Stealth is going to be incredibly difficult. You're going to be looking for weather to mask you, like clouds, or you'll be traveling by night.
Yep.
As far as vehicles and mounts, clearly we have airships and spelljammers as far as the vehicles go. But for mounts, we've got all sorts of options. There's pterodons, dragons, clearly, wyverns, giant birds, or bugs like butterflies. That's some of the options that you have in like Wild Beyond the Witchlight.
What?
Yeah,
Alright.
they have giant butterflies, and like if you pull up some of the art, people are just flying just wild, crazy things like brooms and butterflies and hot air balloons, and it's just a wild variety of things.
Alright.
But there's also like bats, giant bats as well, and Pegasus, Pegases. They're Greek. Pegasode.
I just saw this on TikTok the other day.
So,
That's impressive.
dangerous terrain up here is just going to be gusts of winds and storms, right? Like you're avoiding lightning and you're avoiding gale force winds, right? Don't fly into the hurricane. You can hunt, and tracking might be difficult, especially if you're looking for clues. Like you can see something far away, but at that point you're hunting. So tracking, probably not. Gathering, probably not. The monsters up here are going to be dragons. A lot of giant animals like bats and birds and whatnot. Celestials and fiends that can fly may come up here, but they tend to stick by civilizations and settlements, so it's unlikely they're going to come up here. Air elementals, cloud giants, deep crows, rocks, hippogriffs and griffins, manticores and peritons and harpies. There's just a lot of flying creatures. However, a lot of the flying creatures are undead, and I don't feel like they're going to be up in the air. A lot of when you think ghosts and
Okay, yeah.
a lot of the apparitions, they can fly. What's the Grim Reaper that's on the fucking Night Vale? You guys covered in an undead episode. It was one of the Reapers that flies, this giant crazy looking bat thing, and it's undead. But again,
yeah, I don't remember what it's called.
It is the Night Vale Spectre. It flies on the Gloamwing.
Yeah, the Gloamwing. That's what it's called. Yeah.
So like there are these things, but I feel like they're around civilizations. They're not flying 700 feet up in the air.
What are they doing up there? You know what I mean?
Right,
It's hard to imagine an undead just in open sky.
yeah, just like ghosts flying about doing their own thing.
Just
like,
chilling.
The armies that you might see up here are going to be Aarakocra, but they tend not to be populous enough to have full armies. There's nothing in any of the lore about the Owlin having any sort of structure outside of a multicultural situation, so unlikely you're going to see them. You are going to see fiends and celestials moving as armies, but that tends to be when you're in the sky of like Avernus, or when there's a major event that's happening. They will be flying to fight each other in the air. Otherwise, honestly, you're going to have people that are in airships to fight dragons, sky pirates, but these aren't armies. They're small sections of armies, maybe. Natural features up here, mountaintops, cliff faces, and weather. That's what you're going to get, right? The magical features, I like the idea of floating islands. The aforementioned beanstalks. Cloud giant lands are fun, and I like the idea of there being large portals and thin spaces between worlds, like in the Langoliers, where you can just keep flying and it looks normal and you find yourself in an alternate dimension, or you've traveled to the Feywild without realizing it, or
magical wind tunnels that carry you away.
Yeah. So there are some opportunities for that there, which are a lot of fun. Interestingly enough, when I was looking at the spells for what you can do in the sky, outside of lightning and thunder and gust, the only one was skywrite. This is the only thing that I could find.
Call lightning?
Yeah, but again, it's lightning and thunder and,
say wind
wind
spells.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
However, Featherfall is a necessity. You should have a wand of Featherfall strapped to your fucking leg at all times if you were going to be up in an airship. I have dropped many a character to their death over the years out of airships.
I like giving out tokens that are just one use. Everybody gets one.
Featherfall tokens are a thing in the Eberron book too.
Yeah.
So those are items that exist already.
Oh yeah. I didn't come up with it.
No, well, the one use thing I think is unique. Everybody gets one.
Yeah. No, I still didn't come up with it. I definitely stole it from somebody else.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think the internet.
Thanks, internet.
What would I do without you?
I would have
half.
Yeah, I would have a productive life.
Strange. What a weird thought.
Yeah.
Kyle, you're next.
I would have friendships that didn't rely on a microphone.
This is what we rely on to be friends.
I've had complaints from like about 4 or 5 of the other hosts are just like, can we hang out where we're not recording something? Like, sure, I have Thursday available.
Because I am always recording.
I am always recording.
Okay, so I've got mountains. So what kind of settlements are you going to find in a mountain? You're going to find mining camps, trading posts, way stations, lookout towers, and keeps if this mountain range serves as a border. The biggest challenges for these communities to thrive is consistent access to food and other supplies. I mean, you could also argue about extreme cold and this being snowed in, but I think it all kind of comes back to consistent access to food and supplies. Mm-hmm. The races you're going to find, giants, obviously, Goliaths, Owlin, Druagard, dwarves.
Yeah.
Anything else you can think of? I think that's...
I mean, that's
like
good.
that.
Yeah, for the races, that pretty much covers it. Mm-hmm. Earth Genasi.
Earth Genasi, yeah. Roads, you're unlikely to find proper roads up in the mountains just because it's too hard. Generally, there's a lot of like hard rocky ground. You can't really pave it. It's mostly going to be extended game trails that have just been widened through the passage of many feet. Depending on who lives or lived in your mountain range, though, you might find steps carved out of the rocks. I did read in a book series once, though, that they had a set of steps up a mountain that was made entirely out of bones. And I just thought that was badass and wanted to share.
Yeah, that's cool as fuck.
Yeah. For the wilderness, what does the difficult terrain look like? It depends on how high up the mountain you are, right? Then when you're higher up the mountain, there's going to be more snow. There's going to be ground with large boulders. It's going to be steep. So, I mean, you're getting into climbing.
I think it's worth pointing out that the mountains we're talking about are like rocky mountains as opposed, like, I live at the top of a mountain. I have none of these issues.
Yeah.
But I am in a forested area,
Yes.
right? So,
yeah. But also you're in a developed area, right? Like you go to the other side of the mountain and you are going to get into difficult terrain.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. But like, I was just thinking the giant boulders and the rocky cliff faces. For a lot of places, yes, and that's the traditional. I mean, that's the difference between a mountainous range in D&D and a forested range. You can go up a forested mountain, but it's just more forest, right?
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I guess that's hills. That would be hills.
No, I'm thinking like an actual mountain, like the one that I'm on right now.
Oh,
It's
okay, yeah.
If you walk down it, you're going down a forest.
Yeah, you're dealing with forest rules, not mountain rules. Mountain rules tend to be rocky outcroppings and
Cold.
Cold and jagged and that kind of feel, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So you'd be looking mostly at heavy snow, then steep ascents, large boulders,
also steep descents.
Yeah, steep descents too. And I'm thinking, have you ever seen the trails where you can just, there's a bunch of forest and then there's just this cutout where there's clearly a landslide that just came right down through it, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just all these rocks. In terms of vehicles and mounts going off-road, it's going to be pretty fucking hard, I imagine, for most of the time.
Ride a giant goat.
Yeah. Or like a monkey, something that can climb. How dangerous is the landscape? Here, very dangerous. You got to contend with extreme cold, thin air, avalanches, landslides, and vertical cliff faces. Hunting, tracking, and gathering. Well, I mean, if we're talking about high up mountains, then pretty tough, right? If you're past a tree line, you're not going to find many animals, right? Because there's no foraging, nothing like that.
Birds, maybe?
Birds, yeah, but even then that's going to be rare,
right?
Monsters you're going to find here, yetis, trolls, rocks. I really like rocks.
Yeah. Stone giants.
Stone giants, yeah. Red and silver dragons, giants. Armies, I mean...
Not really, hey?
Goliath army, but even then, it's more like raiding parties.
Yeah, they're in tribes and bands, right?
Yeah.
Actually, I could see you fighting orcs, right, in a mountainous area. I could see you fighting...
dwarves would be there, too.
Dwarves, Duragard,
depending what kind of mountain it is, you might get fire giants.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Gnolls. Knolls are just everywhere. They pop up when they shouldn't be, so.
Oh, hello.
Hello! Knolls!
You have nose.
Do you have any children we can eat? In terms of unique natural features, caves and volcanoes.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you include volcanoes in this when you think about mountains, or...
Also, it depends on what type of mountain it is, because I would.
Yeah, I consider it to be a different kind of terrain just because I'm dealing with all the fire rules at that point.
Yeah, but it's the same thing as like when we're talking about mountain tops being cold because it's in the snowy areas. The same thing. Because then now you have a mountain that is volcanic, and then you're dealing with heat rules, right?
Yeah. It's interesting because the mountain rules in D&D and stuff is all about like elevation on the side of a mountain. None of it's about going into the mountain. None of it's about going underground or any of that shit.
Within the tunnels.
Right?
Yeah.
And they usually just mean like a snow-capped mountain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Every once in a while we'll get something volcano-y, and I'm always a fan of that, but...
I was going to say, if it's a volcanic mountain, you're going to get hot springs. You're going to get like weird volcanic rock as opposed to like the porous volcanic rock that you're going to get, as opposed to like your smooth stone, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to have a different feel.
One of the things too, though, is a lot of the times they won't show signs. Like think about Mount Rainier in Seattle, right? There was just a regular mountain like the one we have until it exploded. Yeah.
One of my favorite things about the Patreon Discord is about every 5 or 6 months, Andre pops in and be like, another volcano exploded. I might go take a look at it today. I'm like, you fucking madman. What are you doing?
I remember being so scared of volcanoes when I was a kid. I think
Well-
it's because we're so close to like
Well, the Ring of Fire.
Yeah.
I remember hearing about the Ring of Fire all the time as a kid.
Yeah, but that was back in the like late 80s, early 90s too, where I'm sitting there hearing about Mount St. Helens.
Yeah.
Just blew up and blotted out the sky, and I'm like, the apocalypse is nigh.
Yeah.
I had some real fucking dread when I was like 9 years old.
Yeah.
About earthquakes and volcanoes. And,
Same.
Quicksand.
Yeah.
It's just all those natural disaster movies came out when we were of the proper age to be afraid of them.
Yeah. I remember I was terrified of Waterworld.
I'm terrified of Waterworld for a different reason.
Yeah.
The acting. It's the acting that does it for me.
Love that movie.
Really?
I fucking love that
Like,
movie.
ironically or no?
Sure.
Okay, all right. I got a question. What's with the dude living in the oil pit? I need to know that guy's story. Give that man a movie, because everything else I could throw out.
Someone write him a novella. We need to know where he comes from.
That's right, but any movie that starts with a man drinking his own pee is all right in my books.
Do I have some home movies for you?
Oh, Lord. No, Kevin Costner was my big crush when I was like...
Really?
Yeah.
Let me tell you, Kevin Costner was my fucking idol for the very brief period of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
I say Robin Hood was
I
sexual
desperately...
awakening for sure.
Not that for me, but I definitely like that was one of the seminal moments for me, like seeing that movie.
Yeah.
I probably watched that more than most other movies.
Oh God, I love that movie. So good.
Also they have the music for it is the opening for the Morgan Creek theme, or like production company logo at the beginning of other movies.
No way.
So yeah, every once in a while they'll play that, and I'll go like, I've got to watch it again.
Gotta give me some Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
Anyways, mountains.
Yeah, so what kind of magical features would I add from this? The only one I could really come up with was Thrim's Howl, the Eldritch Storm from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all basically just exaggerating what's already going on the mountain, right? It's just cold winds.
Add the elements. You're
Yeah.
fucked.
Yeah.
That's the big thing about the mountains is it's another one of these things where you add to it, and because there's nothing there and it's elevated and it's remote, these elements, whether it's volcano or snow or wind, become extreme, right?
Yeah, a problem.
Yeah. And there's nowhere to go, right? There's nowhere to hide. You can't save. If there's nowhere safe, you can't set up a tent because it's just going to blow away.
Yeah.
Right?
Is that mountains?
That's mountains.
All right, I'm going to talk about deserts. And by deserts, I mean desserts. So immediately I think of your traditional unending vast sea, for lack of a better word, of dunes and sand. Dryness, intense heat, and, little cloud coverage and no shade to be seen unless you find yourself a nice little oasis somewhere.
which would of course bring the need for like resource management. So I find that if you're going to have a settlement that lives within the desert, it has to be of a being that doesn't require a lot of food or water to live.
Yeah.
So like your lizard folks or your yuan-ti or like those that are just like natural to the desert areas, shall we say.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it'll probably be like trading post cities that are just there to like as stop-offs to exist and trade and exist, right?
Imagine nomads too.
I say travelers,
Yeah.
that are just going from place to place. They're
I'm
not
thinking
gonna
about the
say-
marketplace in Agrabah.
Yeah.
Fresh fish!
Sugar dates and pistachios. But the big thing about when it comes to the desert, of course, is going to be resource management. So where does your food come from? Where does your water come from? And that could be a very large piece of the exploration piece for your group, is prepping for going to the desert. Kind of similar to how like the prep for climbing a mountain, prepping for going into like a super cold area, or if you're going to go into a volcano, you have to prep for it. If you're not prepped for it, it's going to be extremely dangerous to be there. I do remember traveling through the desert in our last campaign, and Adam graced us with beef jerky that would regenerate,
It was troll jerky.
Yeah.
so that we could live.
It was sunburned troll jerky. It would slowly regenerate, and if it would never regrow the troll.
Yeah.
because it was sunburned. But yeah, it
Yeah,
was-
that's how he lived.
however, if you
Nobody
ate it,
got good berry, huh?
no.
Just get.
Dave, however, was eating it consistently, and as he would take scars and wounds and things, because we do scars in my game, he would grow back green skin because the troll was inside his system, and so
Because of how much he ate.
he ended up growing a sixth finger at one point, and he was going to become a full troll if Dan hadn't killed his character.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, thanks, Dan.
Yeah, but you also gave us like a flask of water that never emptied.
Yeah.
Like one singular flask that would, so that we would share that so we could survive. Because we were not prepared for the desert. We just ended up there.
You guys got dropped into the desert,
Yeah.
like out of nowhere.
So it's not like so that's why I'm saying, like, if you're going into the desert, prep for it.
Yeah.
If you get dropped there, good fucking luck. And as DMs, it's kind of a part of your responsibility to maybe give them a helping hand somewhere here or there. Give them an oasis. Give them something to, like, give them...
And I did. I gave you guys oases. I gave you
did.
guys structures to find shelter in, and...
Yeah. But yeah, the other things that I think about, like, other creatures that you might run into when wandering through the deserts, the first thing that came to my head was we did an episode on the mephits, but, like, dust mephits.
Yeah.
You would find those around. But other than that, you're not really going to find a whole lot of living creatures in my mind, unless they are, of course, native to those lands. You could go super dark, and I was thinking of things like the Sorrowsworn, which we've spoken about, because again, they play out people's emotions. You're lost in the desert. That's a big emotion to be able to, like, sap from.
Yeah, you're going to get the lost, the hungry, the wretched.
Yep. All those things are going to come in here, right? And if you want to make the more of an atmospheric move, you can go and be full creepy. And I imagine that within the desert, because there's no cloud, like there's no trees or anything to provide shade or any of those kinds of things. At nighttime, it'll probably just as light as it is during the daytime, because the stars and the moon are shining at their brightest.
Yeah. The desert gets cold AF too at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, do you want to travel during the night when it's super hot? Travel during the night when it's super cold? Which one are you more prepared for?
Yeah.
Right? Because you will, in my mind, still be able to see at night, even if you don't have dark vision. Just because of how bright the starlight is going to be. Or, like, depending on where you are, obviously. Where we were, there was no fucking starlight, but that's fine.
You guys had portal
We had
light.
portal
but
light, yeah. I feel like when it comes to paths around here, there will be very specific paths and trading routes that people take through the desert. And if you wander off those paths, you'll be lost to the ether forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you do not stick to your maps or your paths or have someone to guide you who knows where they're going, you fucked. I also think when you think of the terrain itself, because of the path it's going to be mostly traveled, that's the only path where the terrain is not going to be difficult. As soon as you step off that path into a sand dune, it is difficult terrain. You are treading through light sand, you're sinking into it, so on and so forth. You can even throw quicksand in there every once in a while if you want to, like holes in the ground or potholes that like sand is just filling into, or if you have like purple worms under the ground, you're going to sink into those holes.
Yeah, you'll have sinkholes all over the place.
Yeah,
It's-
exactly, right?
Or like what happens in Dune when they're like in that little tent. And
I haven't seen Dune.
Oh, okay.
What happens in Dune?
There's just a point where they're like on the side of a hill, and sand just cascades down, and they basically get buried in an avalanche of sand.
Yeah.
So a constantly shifting ground is a dangerous thing to deal with, right? Speaking of that, it would be, in my mind, a little bit easier to sneak around if you want to be sneaky and stealthy, but because of the vast open space, it's going to be pretty easy to see you unless you're hiding behind dunes or other things that are around.
Yeah, you're going to be able to see light at night for a long fucking time.
Exactly, right? And plus, like, because the sand's always shifting, footprints and stuff are going to disappear pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So if you're not on the regular path where there's probably 1,000 million different footprints, all of them get wiped away eventually, right? Like, there's going to be a nice lighting of dusting that happens on a regular basis. Colonies, things like that, I can imagine scatter on the desert again would be like a Yuan-Ti or the snake folks. I can see drakes, dragons, other things that are just traveling between lands. Again, just using it as a traversing space.
There's a lot of deserts, or a lot of dragons that like the desert.
Yeah. And like drakes and like the kids, like the little ones will be running around kind of thing. So
I imagine it's great hunting ground for big animals, right? There, you got nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
You can just...
You're going to have like your birds, vultures and things like that flying through the sky,
yeah.
pecking things off as they're dying in the sands,
Yeah.
right? Also, we talked about pirates earlier, but I can imagine sand pirates. Who travel in the sands picking off magical weapons and resources from unsuspecting travelers.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to have caravans that go around and, like, take things from you or, you know, take your resources so that they can live longer.
It's like Mad Max.
Yes, very much so.
I was thinking about a literal pirate ship dragged by ogres across the dunes.
Yeah.
With one delusional fucking Gith Yankee captain. Ah, port side! I see a caravan!
Oh, man. And then, of course, just to add to the environmental dangers of being in there, of course, other than just beating sun and heat, wind and sandstorms can be very, very dangerous if you don't have any kind of, like, shelter of any kind.
Even the shelters are going to have walls if sandstorms are frequent enough or dangerous enough, right? Like, all of those towns and villages will have walls up.
Yeah, they'll be able to lock it down, you know what I mean? It's going to look very, like...
Moist.
It's always moist. When it comes to like hunting around here, obviously, again, you're going to pick off things that are dying. It's going to be hard for you to travel out into the dunes unless it's something that you were trained to do or live there natively. But yeah, other than that, that's deserts. Deserts and deserts.
Deserts are rough. They're probably one of my favorite places to put players because it forces the survival checks, right?
Yeah, because you don't have access to resources the way you would in a forest or a swamp or even on a mountainside. You're not going to be running into a lot of living creatures. Yeah. Like, you're going to be wandering up to other slowly dying creatures.
Going to become vultures.
Exactly, right? All right, last one. We're going to do another round. We're going to talk about things beyond just our regular roads. I got a 9.
I was on a 16. You bumped me to a 3. Kyle, you're first.
Yes. That's right. All right. So seas and rivers. How are they different? So with the sea, you are going to be fighting with the water a lot more than you are on a river. You're going to have to contend with rough seas, rogue waves, being tossed around by storms, while also dealing with bigger and meaner baddies. And because you're not likely to fight a kraken on a river, right? With river travel, the biggest threats are going to be running aground, whether from shallow water, unseen dunes, and detritus floating in the river. Or maybe dams and checkpoints set up by bandits and smarter enemies, and governments unfriendly to your player's cause. Sure, strong currents can still play a factor in it, but they're much easier to deal with when the water is all flowing in the same direction.
You're going to run into rapids, too.
Yeah.
Oh, rapids, yeah, right, and rocks as well. Although I was thinking you could also make a great kind of little exploration section with making the players try to find maps for like a huge river section, right? For a relatively uncharted area, and having them try to figure out which are real and which ones are fake, whether through lack of diligence or malice is up to you. And if they choose wrong, they find themselves being hurtled towards rapidly approaching waterfall.
I like that.
Yeah.
The waterfalls are fun.
How great.
You guys keep dropping cities off of them, and it fucks me up a bit.
Hey, man. You provided us with the playing field. We just said yeet.
In the homebrew campaign, Kyle, it's mostly the last campaign was mostly massive rivers that would take a day or more to cross.
Okay.
Right? And so the whole area was this big, massive riverland that was all swamps and marshes and jungles as far as the eye could see. But there were waterfalls. The cities that existed were floating cities out in the water because it was safer than being in the jungles and the marshes.
Okay.
So these guys untethered a handful of these floating cities that were anchored in place, and then the cities went over the fucking waterfalls. So this is something that they've been known to do. There were at least 2 sunken cities by the end of the... 3 by the end of the campaign.
I would say 3 if you include the
one's
the
already
well.
sunken.
Yeah.
Oh, 4 with the well.
Oh, well.
Jesus fuck. All right.
I was like, it's weird that it's happened twice, but 4 times.
Again, you provided the play space. We just said yeetith to the city.
Oh, D&D players. All right.
Was there a reason? Was it like a happy accident?
No, it was very intentional. We sent
Every
somebody
time.
down to go and like release the chains. Like,
Yeah.
So I'll show you not to give me a
well,
discount.
the well was an accident. We didn't see that one coming. That
No,
wasn't
you
our
really
fault.
did. Yeah, you guys...
That was under attack. But okay.
But the other 3.
Well, I can't say anything.
It is what it is.
I digress.
Is
He
that...
was crying over spilt cities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sunken cities.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Phenomenal. I'm going to talk about the Underdark and just underground spaces as a whole. So obviously the Underdark is a great place to keep in mind when considering using underground travel and what it's like to be in that environment. So things to obviously consider when traveling underground or in tunnels is, how do you see in here? How are you stocked up? Are you stocked up on torches or fire items, or are you using magical means? If so, how do your spellcasters maintain that over time? You know, just again, resource management when it comes to being in this kind of environment. Also need to take into consideration, if you're moving through a series of tunnels, are your PCs small enough to fit? That can be kind of a problematic thing. I know we've come across it when we do tunnel traversing in our campaigns, where we tend to reach a spot where you can squeeze through and you have like half speed and difficult terrain because you're squeezing through a small space.
And that's when you ambush them.
Yeah, because I would say this is a good way as a DM to separate your party, including things like cave-ins can happen, as well as just falling into holes of darkness.
As one does.
As one might, you know. Not only would you have to worry about your resource management, but the creatures that traverse, especially the Underdark, but also just in tunnels in general, the first thing that comes to mind, of course, are the drow, as that's just where they tend to reside. So you'll most likely come across a colony or grouping out and about, doing their thing, living their life, which is probably not liking you. But the scary creatures that can be found within the dark depths are things like mind flayers and all those fun little mind-bending creatures. Because let's be real, traveling in the underground can make the most stable of creatures go insane. So if you think about traveling underground where there's no light, sound is deafened, and you just have like a general sense of dread, a DM can definitely play with the ability of adding like sanity scores or hearing voices echoing through the hallways and the walls, and large caverns where echoes might happen and occur.
Survival checks to know what direction you're even facing.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
I even wrote that I like the idea of playing like a haunted campaign within the underground the Underdark, or the like just being in tunnels in general, because all I can think of is the movie Descent.
We have different opinions about the movie.
I know we've talked about this
Yeah,
before, and I was
yeah.
waiting for that. But like, we don't have to get into that today. But like, again, you can take inspiration from like the madness that can occur when someone is in a dark space. Like, I think they did an experiment. I don't remember how long it is, or how long a person can survive in a space where there's no sound.
Yeah, and
Oh.
it's measured in minutes.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
very small.
It's the most silent room in the world. So it's actually got negative sound to it.
Yeah.
So you can hear your own inner workings of your body. You will hallucinate very fucking quickly.
I
Exactly.
heard the longest anybody was able to stay in there was 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am so curious to see what horrible shit my brain will come up with. Because I've done a sensory deprivation chamber.
Yeah.
And apparently, and like, I saw shit. Like, it was wild. I can't imagine it being like, what's worse than that? There's something worse than that? What the fuck is that like?
I know, right? Like, it just, like, that's the what I imagine when you're traveling in tunnels. And I personally, I hate spelunking and I hate caves.
Yeah.
I just haven't, I cried in Britannia Mines. Like, I cannot,
Did you really?
I cannot stand being in a cave. And I'm not claustrophobic. I like small spaces. I'm not, like, I am afraid of the dark, but that's a whole different thing.
Did you just feel the weight of the earth above you? Is
It's
that
just,
what it
it's
is?
that weird feeling of just, like, if if these rocks crumble, I will not survive this.
Yeah.
Megan, what do you think claustrophobia is?
But like I like being in small spaces. Doesn't scare me being a small zone.
Sure.
I'm not afraid of being like on rides where I'm in a closed box. I'm not afraid of I would not be afraid of being in a coffin that isn't underground. Take that coffin, put it underground, I'll kill you.
So okay.
Yeah,
so
I agree with you. I want to be cremated for that.
yeah, I'm noted. Before or after death.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know. Let's play it by ear.
I'm the same way with like I can be in a room or a vehicle, no problem.
Yeah.
The moment that vehicle is underwater, I have issues.
Yeah.
Right. So
So the same kind of concept.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I feel like when talking about tunnels in D&D, I look at them more the lens of it is a scary experience.
Mhm.
So if I was going to do a campaign with tunnels, it would be on the more haunted, darkness, madness spectrum
yeah.
than just
Okay.
traversing through a regular dungeon,
Yeah.
right? Because being in a dungeon in D&D, in my brain, is like you're going through the catacombs of like the castle depths or whatever, or you're going through like someone's temple, or like that to me is like a dungeon crawl. A tunnel crawl is a very different thing to me.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, because for one, like the tunnel crawl, it's finite, right? But the Underdark, it just goes on forever and ever and ever.
The other thing that makes a difference, I just want to point this out really quickly. One of the other big differences is the Underdark was magically created by gods.
Yes.
Right. And there are creatures that are not able to get to the surface because of the magical barrier between the Underdark and underground, right? But there's this like leftover magical radiation called Phaserus, I want to say. Phaserus? It's something like that.
Pheromones.
Nope.
No problem.
That is this leftover magic that just like seeps into, and it's got like there's pockets of it, but it's also everywhere, right? Like there's intense like pockets of it. But there are creatures that like live off of the radiation, and there are creatures that will die from the radiation. So it's also got that weird extra level of alien landscape in the Underdark.
Absolutely.
Well.
Yeah. Creatures of the utmost freakiness. Ugh.
Is that everything you have?
That's everything I've got.
Just to your point, you guys know the story about the guy that went like spelunking and he
I hate this one.
yeah, and he got trapped upside down and couldn't get out, and he died under the weight of his own, like he couldn't breathe just from the weight of his own body.
Didn't he die? It didn't take him like a day to die.
Took him days to die.
Yeah.
So they knew where he was, but they couldn't get to him because he was so far down, and they could communicate with him. He was just getting weaker and weaker, and then finally died. And their only thing that they could do was say no one else should ever go in here. So they filled the hole with concrete and left him.
Yeah. Couldn't even get his body out.
No, that's fucking horrible.
I hate it. I hate
Yeah.
everything about it.
Okay, let's move on to the Arctic. This will be, I guess, the last one we're doing today.
It is.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between the Arctic and the tundra, and I wanted to dig into the differences between them, but I realized that honestly, the tundra is just flat mountain range.
Yeah.
That's all it is. If you think
I thought it was like winter desert.
it is, right?
It's flat.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. Like you have all of the same like basic levels of snow. You've got rocky outcroppings. You've got the same level of survivability, and it's cold as fuck, like the top of a mountain. Except it is a flat barrier between where your grasslands, forest, and whatnot, your vegetation, and the true Arctic. Like I'm standing on 6 miles of ice.
Yeah.
Right. So, if I was going to go through the tundra, I would use mountain rules to do it. So,
Okay.
so when I think about the Arctic specifically, though, I wanted to highlight it a little bit because we do have Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden, and a couple other places where people have to go through snowy Arctic landscapes. And so the settlements you're going to find here are going to be small towns, walled cities and forts for the same reason that in the desert they're walled, right? Like
Yeah.
it's keeping out the elements for the most part, but also keeping out raiders.
Yeah.
I also want to point out you're going to run across the occasional ice palace because you cannot be in a medieval fantasy Arctic area without there being some sort of god or ice
witch.
wizard or something.
Ice hag.
Ice hag.
Yeah,
Ice hags.
that's the Verhag, I think. So
Sea Fury.
to a degree, yeah.
All
But-
right.
But yeah, there's some opportunities there for ice palaces, which I'm excited about.
Delightful.
The challenges here, of course, going to be resources and the fact that everything is difficult terrain. You are in danger of the flat ground becoming an avalanche underneath you as well. The same way that you are with sinkholes in the desert, right?
Yep.
The races you're going to find up here are going to be Goliaths, humans, and Verbeegs, orcs, frost giants, and anything that smells like a barbarian. So
Give it a whiff.
give it a whiff. It might be an ice barbarian. The roads up here are only going to be visible during some times of the year, so you're mostly going to have to rely on landmarks and passageways, like through the mountainous region here, we go through this valley, or you keep the large black rock that looks like a cat's face on the left, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Difficult terrain is going to be frozen lakes, deep snow, rocky or slippery terrain everywhere.
Yeah.
I imagine it'd be really easy to not notice you're on a lake all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And there might be thin ice and just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forgetting where you're at, like
Yeah.
losing your bearings. Yeah.
Stealth, I feel, is going to be easy. Everything is a little bit muted in the winter, in the snow, in the cold. However, you are going to leave tracks and they will find you.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So tracking is easy. Tracking is super easy, but stealth is easy as well. So I feel like, and everything can camouflage up here, right? So things are hidden, and that could be a problem. Your vehicles and mounts are going to be, well, for mounts, you're going to have like woolly axe beaks and mammoths and dogs and whatnot, because you have sleds and dog sleds. Unless you're on a frozen road or something, you're not going to be relying on things like wagons, anything wheeled. This is going to be probably one of the most dangerous places outside of the, like, I can't breathe here, like space or underwater, right? So the cold and exposure means that survival checks and exhaustion are going to be a thing you got to deal with all of the time. Snow can hide important details about where you want to go, and you can get lost very easily. It's usually darker longer in Arctic settings. And like I said, a lot of the creatures can camouflage, so you are constantly, in my head, you're constantly being watched. You might be being watched by a snow hare or a snowy owl, but you're constantly being watched. Things know you're there unless you're doing things to hide. So
One of the things, too, about really snowy climates is the glare off the snow. Makes it really hard to see.
Yeah. You're gonna have that like little slit just to like see through. Yeah.
yeah, and
Snow blindness and what have you.
and like on the open ocean and in the desert, that we didn't mention it, sunburn.
Yeah.
You will get sunburned on the snow, right? So, like I said, hunting, tracking, gathering are all possible, and they're going to be easy in some ways and difficult in others, right?
Yeah.
Like you can hunt someone, but chasing them is going to be a pain in the ass, right? You can track where something has been, but God knows how long they've been here if it hasn't snowed in a couple of days, right? Because the tracks will stay forever.
Yeah. And also depending, like, I know like it's cold all year round, but there will be certain times of the year where it is slightly warmer, where you're probably going to have a better chance of finding something.
Yeah.
Right?
The monsters you're going to run into here are snowy owl bears, mammoths and polar bears, white dragons and remorazes, ice mephits, yetis, winter wolves. You're going to run into orcs and gnolls, dwarves and durgar and drow, frost giants, and of course tons and tons and tons of undead.
Woo!
The armies you're going to run into up here are going to be orcs, gnolls, frost giants. You'll run into minions of white dragons. They tend to have a lot of minions. Like you'll run into like white kobolds and stuff. But I also feel like this is where you might see an army of undead.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm just channeling Game of Thrones. Like you can see that underwater or through the desert as well. But like,
Yeah. No, I'm just seeing it from the ice palace of the ice hag. Has her own little undead army.
Yeah. It seems like a great place to hide it because they can survive where nobody else can, right?
we're slowly getting into Megan's fanfic phase of the episode, so we got to hurry up.
Wrap it up, Adam.
For natural features, we can rely on frozen waters, glaciers, caverns, mountains, open icy plains, blizzards, and howling winds. The problem here is going to be your footing and the weather. For magical features, you can expect surprise things like hot springs and the odd volcano, even up here. It has a nice contrast. Icy labyrinths, abandoned underground kingdoms, crystalline formations. Like, you can imagine that there have been a lot of people that have tried to make a living up here and have had to move on. So there will be lots of forgotten civilizations. But you have things like ice devils and shit, too, that are going to just straight up make their home here and make it fucking weird and hard. to deal with. And like white dragons are another one. So
Yeah.
and then when I was thinking about what spells you're going to need, you're going to run into cold spells, of course, but you're also going to run into heat spells because everyone needs to stay warm.
Yeah.
Things like wind and gust and that kind of like wind wall and shit. And then create and destroy food and water and other things to like Heroes Feast just to be able to eat and live.
Yeah.
The same way that we needed that a lot in the desert, you're going to need it up in the Arctic.
Yeah.
You guys know where the largest desert on planet Earth is?
No.
Antarctica.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Because
because
Goa. That was Goa, but
no, the definition of desert is a place that has zero precipitation for the longest periods of time, right?
okay.
And that is the coldest place on Earth, which is in our Antarctica. There's a huge, vast region where it is too cold for rain to form. So technically speaking, it's not sandy. It's just so cold.
That's
It's
fair.
a desert. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, neat.
That's it for the Arctic.
How exciting. I love that.
We've not done a whole lot of Arctic in our campaign.
No, God, no.
No, because we've been in the desert and in the jungles
Yeah.
and whatnot. So.
And I'm happy about that. Don't change it. Fuck that.
All right.
All right, before we explore the end of this episode, let's scout out an info break.
Nailed it.
Thank you.
If you've been inspired by the conversation in this episode, please feel free to reach out and share your creativity and ideas with us and the rest of the community. You can reach us on Facebook and Instagram, or on our subreddit r/itsamimic. Also, if you're feeling particularly generous, please follow and subscribe and leave us positive reviews, likes and comments. Engagement like that help us pop up on search engines and keep this show running.
So, besides planar nonsense and Spelljammer, do you guys think we missed any environments that have a unique set of rules?
I mean, like, we talked about swamps and forests, but we didn't really get into specific types of the kinds of forests you can have. So, like...
Like the temperate rainforest,
like a temperate rainforest, tropical rainforest, all that kind of stuff. Like, you can get a little bit more granular when it comes to the kind of... Like, we did a little bit with mountains. You can have a volcanic mountain. You can have an Arctic, windy, cold mountain, like that kind of stuff. But you can do the same thing with forests.
Yeah. Like the Amazon is very different from what we have here.
Yes.
Yeah, I would like jungle to be one of the things that's acknowledged. And like, we have swamps, but we don't have marshes and bogs and shit as well, right?
Yeah.
Like,
We all kind of lump them all into the same thing.
yeah.
But...
I'm just trying to think, is there anything like underground?
I talked about tunnels a lot, but I didn't really talk about caves.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's kind of the same kind of traversing issues would happen in a cave that would happen within a tunnel.
At what point does a cave become a tunnel? Like 100 feet?
Ooh.
I feel like a tunnel has two ends, whereas a cave doesn't have to just only has to have one entrance.
So would you say that an anthill is a big cave?
There's many exits to an anthill.
No, I mean like the traditional one that just like burrows down and there's one entrance. Is that a cave then?
Ant cave.
Yeah, because I mean, when I think of a cave, I think of like it's a hollow in rock, right? Not someone dug a hole.
Okay.
It's a hole.
Okay, it's a hole. Fair enough.
You know what? A hole is a hole.
Yeah.
This PSA has been brought to you by Megan. This is a fucking after-school special already.
You're welcome.
I would say that the other thing, I touched on it briefly in urban settings, but like sewers are their own unique environment to have to traverse and deal with. Very similar to tunnels in a lot of way, but also very
it's like
different.
combining swamps, tunnels,
Urban.
Yeah.
Like it puts it all together in one, right? Gross. But you'd have a completely different like society of living down there, right? I say that with air quotes gently.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Ninja Turtles,
Yeah.
mostly.
Mostly.
That and chud. There will be some chuds down there.
Oh Lord.
Shut.
Fuck, I haven't thought about that in like 20 years. Fucking chuds.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all for this part of our discussion on the official environments in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Please take a second to engage with a like, follow, comment, and review to help push our engagement. And don't forget to subscribe to find future inspirations for your campaigns.
If you'd like to support us, we have a store with some merch and a donate button on our website at itsamimic.com, as well as a Patreon. This episode and others can also be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and other podcast apps. Thanks for listening to It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're gonna get.
This has been an It's a Mimic production. Please check the show notes for this episode to see links, time codes, and credits, and don't forget to reach out and share your own inspirations.
I would like to point out that we almost got into my fanfics and it didn't once talk about frost giants.
I didn't know that was also
Are you okay?
So it's frost giants and hags.
Frost giants and hags. Hags and frost
Oh
giants.
shit, it's also vampires.
Okay, but you can make it, yeah.
Yeah, but
Give us to me the sound check.
This is me and my podcast voice talking about podcast things and being a podcast-related human being.
Well done.
Great.
So you know that undead clip that I dropped in there for all the ladies to listen to?
Yeah.
I recorded that about 4 times because I kept fucking calling you out on all of the like little nitpicky. Megan, stop going. Megan, pronounce the name appropriately. Megan, and I kept going at you, and every time I'm like, I've said 9 things and not mention anyone else's names, and I'm just sounding mean now, so I better calm the fuck down.
Hey man, I'll take it. It's okay. I just work here. Is that my quarterly review? Is that what that is?
I really, really, like, you joke, I would love to give feedback to everybody, just one at a time, talk to everyone, how you doing, what's going on, are you still having fun? Mm-hmm. I start to second guess how happy everybody is.
Kyle, are you happy?
yeah, no, it comes and goes.
Well, fuck.
Was that recorded?
Yeah. Shit.
What are we talking about specifically? What do you mean?
Podcast stuff. Yeah, that's just it. Okay, so I downloaded TikTok to support a couple of creators that I know. However, I spend all of my time watching men in the woods build houses. Those are the TikToks that I watch, and not what's his face chopping wood that Megan watches, but like
like you look directly at me, I'm like, yeah.
But no, like dudes literally just like looking at this flat piece of ground, or they're like, hey, you know what? That tree is going to be the cornerstone of my whole fucking building. And they sit down and build a fucking cabin. And there's like, it's 8 parts. I will watch that shit for 20 minutes and be like, yeah, I could do that.
You could not.
I could not.
Can't confirm.
Also, where are they getting all of this lumber from? Don't ask. It never talks about it, so.
Also, where are you finding this land? Like,
Yeah, right.
and how much did it cost you?
I'm low-key, like, because they never talk, I low-key believe that all of them are, like, Russian. And, like, they're way out in like, in other, they're not Canadian or American. They're not North American at all. They're like way out in Asia or in Europe or somewhere, because they never speak and they're always like.
I think I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah, well, there's a bunch of them. There's a ton of them, and they do things differently than I would, like the architectural style and some of the decisions they make. And I'm like, interesting that you would do it that way. I would do it differently.
I like how you are able to be a judge for this.
Yeah.
A, I've built homes for the Habitat for Humanity, so I know about throwing up real quick.
I can throw a good wall up, you know?
But B, I've been on construction sites for the majority of my 20s as well, right? Like,
I'm just like, I can just sit like, those are some weird flying buttresses. Like, we really need to get some better coffers up here in this ceiling.
No,
like...
I'm sitting there looking at the fact that they're stuffing moss in between the walls as like this insulation, and I'm like, there are better ways to do that. Is going to rot. That moss is still green.
Yeah, but then they're not littering when this log cabin falls apart. Right?
No, but you can use other natural resources to have insulation, like dry leaves. If they're dry, then they're not wet. The moss is wet. There's like earth in it still.
I guess, but it's
earth.
thick and then it dries out eventually, right? Like as long as it's like let's say you're building a log cabin and it rains, the rain's still going to get inside and then going to make those leaves wet. And then the leaves are going to crumble, as opposed to the moss, which is kind of spongy and will retain its shape.
I'm sorry, what's the hand motion for spongy?
Spongy.
This is not proper ASL, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm from the generation where ASL means age, sex, location.
Yeah, man.
Fuck.
New way to date yourself.
Yeah.
Although I
wish
am
could
also of
date
that age,
myself.
so.
Fuck. Yeah.
Can't wait to tell Mika that.
Oh, Lord. But what's that? Uh-oh. Mindy. you.
Oh, man.
It's got transported back.
I had a Vietnam flashback. Fuck.
That's fair. Okay, before we
That's the cut we're going with, huh?
to read this sentence because I'm like, this makes no sense to me.
I want you to know that I'm trying to make that a different sentence every single episode.
Well, that's what fucked me
Son
up.
of a bitch.
I was like, are you trying to say okay before we get this episode started? Or before we let this episode exist? Like, I was like, where are we going with this?
No, good.
That's fair.
Okay, see you next time.